Hey, April Fool's Day. Happy April Fools. Or what have you.
Was the April Fool's that we were on time?
Haha. Well, we're
Well,
7 minutes late, 8 minutes late. Yeah, so. Um,
that's on time for you.
so I have yet to Google this. I have to Google this. Hold on. And make sure it's real. And okay, yeah. So it did actually happen. Somebody sent me a link and it was like this like you think you're like fake. Oh, we're having a baby. Pictures are clever. Then there's this picture of like this mountain with smoke coming off the top of it.
Oh,
And
the guy that threw the tires in there?
Yeah, Mount Edgecombe. Over the course of a month before April Fool's, he brought he brought like a big giant like 70 or so tires, loaded them up with gasoline, and set them ablaze on April Fool's Day. And everybody thought the dormant volcano was going to explode again. So, and they're like, I was like, that took a lot of effort and a lot of, I was just kind of like, that's pretty hilarious. That somebody did that. Yeah, a local prankster named Oliver Porky Bitcar ignited hundreds of old tires in the crater, which he had flown in for April Fool's Day. The dark smoke rising from it convinced nearby residents of Sitka, Alaska, the volcano was erupting. The hoax was soon revealed as around the rim of the volcano, April Fool was spray painted in 50-foot letters.
Nice.
Aldi's
in chat.
They reported that Bicker had been planning the prank for 4 years. Just can you imagine? I'm gonna get him all.
A long time to plan a prank.
That is a long time.
But that's quite the comeback there. If it isn't local chef, local.
Right. I'm gonna open up a restaurant.
I've been cooking a lot more
over here. He's
if there's a silver lining from this whole thing is that I am getting some mad cooking skills out of it because I'm cooking every night now instead of only cooking once or twice a week and then going out or ordering in.
Yeah. I've cooked 3 weeks. It's the third week now.
Yeah, my wife and I have tried to order in a few times to our favorite restaurants just to kind of support them, because obviously they're not bringing anything in right now. But other than that, yeah, I agree. It's I do have. That's nice. Are you green screening there, buddy?
I'm learning new techniques in my downtime to keep me occupied.
Yeah, you gotta move it over to the.
No, I know. I haven't hung it. It's just leaning against a chair right now. I'm actually getting brackets to hang it from the ceiling so I can just pop it on and pop it off when I want to, and then it'll cover.
Nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
How come it's because the light is fading off at the edge?
Yes, it's a round green screen, but it's big enough to cover the whole area, but it has to be hung right behind me, so it's propped up, so it's at an angle. But yeah, I'm gonna work on my internet game since I need to find things to preoccupy my downtime.
So well, I've been playing a lot of Roll20 D&D actually with my group. That's been actually pretty awesome.
A lot of Mountain Blade 2, the new video game that just came out on Steam. That's been my latest obsession.
Mountain Blade
2. It's a game about medieval fighting.
Mount
basically
and Blade.
Mount and Blade 2.
Mount
yeah.
And Blade.
Mount
and Blade.
Blade
2.
Dose.
Yes. Roman numeral 2. Yeah, it's on Steam. It's like 10% off. It's just launched in early access, and it's a game of, it's kind of like a mix between Total War and Skyrim. So you play single player and you build up your kingdom and you do all this fun stuff, and then the multiplayer is just like castle sieges and commanding units and archery and medieval swordsmanship and stuff. It's been a blast. I've been playing it. I played Half-Life Alyx all last week, which is awesome in VR, and then I've been playing this week. So, game of the week.
you might have just cost me $20. Is it use mouse to play, or do you have to?
Yeah, it's full PC, mouse, keyboard, mounted combat, archery, all the medieval weapons. $20. I think it's $40.
$40.
Yeah.
Mount and Blade. Oh, sorry. I was looking at Mount and Blade Warband.
That's the original one. Yeah, this is the newest one.
Yeah, I played a little of the Warband one. It was fun.
Yeah, this one's supposed to, I didn't play the original, but from the people I talked to about it, said that this is a vast improvement, and it's still in early access, so there's a lot more coming out for it. So, and it's got some cool multiplayer. It's got a really neat multiplayer system. So, for those that like medieval fighting and mass combat and siege combat, you can play with up to 5 of your friends and command entire armies and fight together against the evil Scourge, which is other players. Cool stuff.
Mount and Blade 2. Mountain Dew.
Yeah,
just
watch some videos
for 5 hours, and I'm exhausted.
Oh, really?
What did you do for 5 hours?
We streamed Jackbox.
Oh my god!
The game night crew with Deborah, me, Lincoln, Nikki, and then a floating cast of other people came in. And
once we have more people, I think we should play that again. That was fun.
I don't know how friggin' people do it, man. Streaming all day, just sitting there. I mean, I do sit a lot, I work, but I do like to get up and go walk around the house a little bit, But it was like 5 hours. It was fun.
How did you find time to cook during all that?
I cooked after.
I
started at 10 a.m. Or, noon my time. So basically it was 6 when we were finished. 5 or 6.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, can I get a grievance out of the way?
Yes, but then after that, I'd like to hear Keith. Keith was explaining Animal Crossing to me, so I'd like to fit him to finish that explanation.
Oh, I've got an entirely different thing about Animal Crossing as a grievance that I'd like to talk about as well. So,
the whole game is a grievance.
Okay. Well, okay. First of all, so the thing is, my problem with that is that my son is the main person on the island, and so my daughter and I have to wait for him to actually accomplish things before we can actually do them as well, being the lesser citizens of said island. So it's like, and my son is so scatterbrained. He wants to play like 3 or 4 different games all at once.
Yep.
So it's like, so he'll play this thing for like an hour, and then he'll go and he'll play that thing on his iPad for an hour, and then he'll go and he'll play something on like he'll play Mario Kart for an hour. He kind of just bounces around. So I'm like, all right, fine, whatever. I don't want to wait for you. I'm going to start my own island. You can't. You just can't. After you started the first island, after you get the game, you have to rebuy the entire game, and you have to actually get another Switch. You can't because it saves the island on the internal memory of the Switch, not the actual like SD card or anything.
Couldn't you uninstall and reinstall?
If you uninstall it, it still saves the save game on the Switch itself. But I wouldn't uninstall it anyway because
they're just the worst. They hate the player. I mean, they really do. It's amazing.
Keith is smiling. He must. I can't wait to hear this.
No, I mean, Nintendo's notorious for not doing online worth of crap and not making things easy for the player. But they make games people just want to play like crack. Everybody deals with it.
Is it true? There is voice chat in the game, but you have to use your cell phone to do it. There's no I know there's no built-in voice chat with the Switch, but there's an app you can get on your cell phone to talk to your friends.
I don't know anything about that.
Call them instead.
No clue.
All I know is it's like I have like over 200,000 bells saved up because all I can do is go around and catch fish and sell them. That's all I can do. And so that's what I've been doing whenever I play. And like, I've been waiting for him to like, he has to get the guy invited to the island. So the museum shows up finally. I can't make an axe yet. I can't make an axe or a shovel.
Your son's account to get stuff unlocked for you?
Yeah.
Well, no, I wouldn't take that away from him. I want him to be able to play it and experience it how he wants to play. But it's just, it's like,
you have to give that guy 5 things, right?
Whatever it is, who cares? I don't even know because he hasn't come to my island yet because my son hasn't finished the quest to invite him.
It's like the first thing. It's like one of the only things you can do in the game.
Yeah, and it's just like, and so we've owned the game since launch, and like I said, other than the only things I'm doing is I'm running around collecting spiders, snails, moths, butterflies, and catching every single fish known to man, and I'm just selling them. So when I eventually can do something. I bought everything that I can possibly buy. It's the same 12 items every single time.
So you can't give it to Nook? What does Nook say when you talk to him?
Nothing. You mean what I give him? What
So I mean, it's been 2 weeks, but like I think you have to give him 5 things, and it'll.
Yeah,
and
he hasn't asked me for 5 things. I approach Nook and he's just like, "Hey, how's it going? You know, how you having a good time?" Yeah.
No.
Well, you know, it's like you.
Sorry,
What you?
Paul Tompkins.
His
Paul
question I ask is, "What should I do?" And he's like, "Well, you should probably go around and collect some bugs and fish." I have. I've probably caught thousands of both, and I keep selling them to Tommy or Timmy or whatever his name is. And like I said, I have 200,000 bells or whatever. I paid off my debt. I bought a house. He gave me a house, you know. So it's like, but I can't go any further because my son just is like, you know, it's like, Caleb, you got to do this. You know, he's like, yeah, okay. Then he'll play for a little while, and he just makes signs saying "Dad stinks" and puts it outside of my house. And it's just like, great.
This is why you buy your kid his own.
House is on his island with him. Oh,
So
they're playing on one copy.
so stupid.
On one Switch.
Really,
Yeah.
I mean, I know Paul Tompkins. They make the best games. They make very fun games. I agree, but that's just annoying.
You know why they do that kind of crap?
So you buy
Because
it,
they
you
can.
Well, you know what?
Exactly.
They can.
Not buy a Switch right now because they're all fucking sold out.
Yeah, I
Are
know.
they
Like,
sold out?
you had to buy one in January because ever since this thing started, the Switches have gone like that.
Yeah, there's no, and I can't even get Joy-Cons right now because they're all sold out too.
Yep.
Yeah,
Right,
I'm lucky.
so-
I've got 4 Joy-Cons.
Well, there's a special event started today, too.
I'll play
It's
Warzone.
Bunny Day.
You guys played Warzone yet?
No, like I said, it's been VR games, Half-Life Alyx, and.
Oh, hey,
and-
that's a good segue. That's a really good segue to my
sure.
grievance.
Keith has to talk about his thing.
No,
Yeah, I wanna hear it.
no. This is
Go
my
ahead.
segue because he's just gonna play it and show everything he can do that's super cool and awesome that I can't because I don't. Anyway,
Yeah, but give
so-
Keith that opportunity to rub it in. Come on, Keith.
No,
How
here's-
bad is your island right now?
Let's tell his story.
here's my
It's fine.
grievance because you mentioned VR. So, like my son, we plugged in the VR for him last week, like Wednesday or Thursday. He played it for like 3-4 hours. I said, hey, I got to take that back downstairs so I can work. He's like, okay, fine. Monday, he says, can I play VR? I was like, it's just kind of a pain in the butt to do it, but because I had to pick up my laptop, bring it upstairs, you know, whatever. I was like, that's fine. You want to play? I said it was fine. I'm going to bring it up. I get it. I plug it in. The headset doesn't recognize that all of the USB things on my laptop, my super expensive gaming laptop, are USB 3. It's saying it's USB 2. So it won't work. It won't load up. It won't do anything. So I unplug everything, shut it down, restart the computer, plug it in, still saying USB 2. It doesn't recognize the fact that I have USB 3. All right, fine. So I go in, I just start monkeying with it. I try like plugging in at different times, trying anything possible. I boot up the Oculus software, plug it in. It still says I have USB 2. Okay, maybe some things work with my computer. I will put something else. I'll plug everything else. Everything else, and I plug it in, I use it. It's saying it's a USB 3. It's just the headset. Okay, fine. I got to like submit a ticket. So I go to like the most impossible, ridiculous, stupid like support process of how do I like report this as a problem to Oculus. But then it's like 11 o'clock on a Monday night, and I see there's this button for chat, and I submitted my thing for a ticket, but I'm like, what the hell? I might as well hit the chat button and see if somebody's available. I type in the chat, I put in my name, put in my address, you know, like, and then I give them all the information, and sure enough, I actually get somebody. Now, I'm going to say this right now. Oculus has every single time I've ever been in a chat with somebody, I've gotten almost perfect customer service as far as like them like listening to me what I'm doing, and they're walking me through steps. So I get somebody on the line and they're like, try this, you know, plug this in and check this status on your thing. It's like, you know, run, like they go to the VR, they said go and like do this thing. There's a program within the Oculus software where it actually downloads like the logs of what you're doing, and they say click on that, it's going to give you a file, you know, give that file to us so we can like look and see what's going on. So I do that. I give them the file. They're like, okay, well, it looks like your most recent graphics driver hasn't been downloaded to your GeForce 1080, you know, thing. All right, fine. Download that. I said to them, this is the only thing. Every single person that I talked to on there said that they would email me later with added steps to have to do. And like I was like, all right, they'll email me relatively soon. But I never once got an email from anyone until I actually was like talking to somebody on my phone, chatting with them on my phone, and like having my computer in front of them. So I never had to restart because I got past that little thing because I was pretty sure that whole thing was like, I don't want to deal with this person. I'm going to make them restart their computer, and then they chat. I don't have to deal with them again. But anyway, so it's like, okay, so I install my most recent driver. They also said, oh, it looks like you have a Windows 10 update you haven't done. Okay, I'll do that too. I do that. I've restarted. I get somebody on the phone. I'm still talking. It still doesn't recognize the fact that I have a 3.0 USB port. So I'm sitting there and they're like, okay, well, you can try this. And it's like, you can like go into the properties of your USB hub and make sure that like this isn't toggled. It isn't toggled. Okay, go in and make sure that like you're not in any kind of power save mode. That you're no. Then somebody says, actually, Googling, they said, I see people that with MSI gaming laptops have had issues where they need to get a new VBIOS downloaded into their display port. And that I was like, and that sometimes fixes these USB problems. So I was just like, well, what my display port on the back where you plug in the headset, what would that have to do with anything? I was like, okay, fine. I've been with customer support for almost 4 hours now, trying to get this damn thing working. And I was like, fine, I'll do that. Lo and behold, MSI has people working until 4 a.m. that you can call. So I actually just called somebody up and I said, hey, this is the problem. He's like, I can't help you. I've got to give that to a tech, but I will have them call you like first thing in the morning. I was like, perfect, great, super. So they call me first thing in the morning and they start looking at this guy's like, okay, let me just see what's going on. And he's like, okay, I understand. And let me see if we have a new VBIOS for the graphics card. And he's like, oh no, yours is a 1080 graphics card. We don't have that. It's only like the 1060s and 1070s need a new VBIOS. We don't even have a new VBIOS for the 1080s because you don't need it. And I was like, okay. And yeah, so he said, and I explained, he's like, can I just shoot it by you? And I explained it to him. And he's like, yeah, that sounds like, they have some sort of firmware or some sort of update that they did with the software that it's just not, it's not working with your computer anymore. It's like probably like just a small little thing. So, okay, fine. So I contacted them again. I contacted customer service again on Oculus, and I got somebody I was chatting. And admittedly, like all I had to tell them was like, hey, look, I've contacted you guys many times about this. And they're like, yep, we can actually see with the email that you have associated with this, I can see. So they were actually just hang tough. Let me read through everything. So they said, have you done all these steps that we've given you? Yes, I've done everything. I have uninstalled the software and reinstalled. They even had this process where I had to uninstall the software, reboot the computer without hooked up to the internet, reboot it in safe mode, and then basically go in and delete the whole like thing off of my registry, which, I understand what they're doing. And then it was just like, and then reinstall, didn't do anything. I mean, I've been done everything. And then finally they said, oh, well, we're gonna have to give this to somebody in our dev team. They'll be back to you within 24 hours. Well, it's been 36 and I haven't heard anything. So basically what I have is I have a 400-pound rock here that like does nothing because like for one stupid reason, some update, some stupid thing, even though it worked just fine 4 days ago and my son was just beat sabering all night long, it just doesn't fucking work anymore. And I'm
the only PC in your house that can run it?
Yes.
See, I've never unhooked mine, so mine's not had an issue. I've had mine since launch, but I don't take mine apart.
You're fucked. They're never going to figure that out. I mean, if it's not like a simple reset or rollback, can you roll back a driver? Or do they have the driver things listed? And
yeah, if it's an Oculus update that now doesn't jive with your computer, it could take them months to figure out what specifically your computer has that doesn't work for it.
Did they tell you to roll back? Shouldn't their answer be put it in a box and mail it to us? We'll send a different one.
That could be. I don't know that would fix it. If it's a firmware issue, it's not. It's not. It's going to be what they're updated because they've had 3 or 4 updates over the last week. Firmware updates, patch updates, stuff like that.
Try rolling back the driver. Go into the device.
No, I did that already. And it wasn't even working with the. See, the thing that's dumb is that it was like one of those things where it worked just fine and I had an outdated driver in the first place. So it's like, because I did not have the most up-to-date driver for my computer anyway. So, and it was working just fine on the old driver like 4 days ago.
Are you talking video driver or an Oculus?
Video driver.
Like a GeForce driver?
Yeah.
Your screwed lids.
So
That's
the
why I don't
problem,
use my
the
laptop
problem is the
today.
update.
I would try rolling it back, but if you already
Yeah.
did that, maybe I don't know.
Well, here's the deal. I don't even know where do I roll it back to. It's because I was running on a year-old driver for GeForce.
Yeah. So a year.
And because I just never updated it.
So you ran that GeForce
I
experience.
wonder if when he downloaded the drivers, he got a bad driver, like it bugged out or errored out or something.
I'm not interrupting you, but here's the thing. It was like it worked just fine like 4 days before on everything, on the old Windows, on the old GeForce driver, on all of that stuff. And it's like you plug it in and it's just like, and now it doesn't. I mean, it just, and the thing is, I had one time when I restarted it and I was monkeying with just myself, I got it to recognize the USB 3 one time. I don't know. And I was like, okay, it's going to work. And I clicked on the button to work. And as soon as it tried to run a program, it said, we need to restart your Oculus software before we can run this. So I was like, okay. And as soon as it restarted it, it went back to not recognizing anything again. It's just, I'm like,
Hell yeah.
Well, I know. I mean, tomorrow, if I don't hear anything by 5, I am gonna find a phone number for them somehow. I mean, it's just like this obtuse maze behind like all this crap that they just like make it impossible to actually talk to somebody.
Yeah.
If you know, and it's the thing. It's stupid. Is like ultimately, I'm just gonna be like, you know, I'm shipping this fucking thing back to you, and you can go ahead and give me my $400. You know, I'm not gonna have.
You could do it.
I'm not going to go buy another computer so I can use this thing. Just, you know, I mean, it's effing stupid. Oh, and here's another grievance. I'll just throw this out there. I also around this exact same time, Paul, I'm going to go outside and yell at the sun. Yeah, that's kind of like what I felt like doing.
Keith, after like 3 months and not coming on.
Yeah. Well, no. So here's this thing. So I was sitting there and my wife said, "Hey, there's something wrong with the washer." I go downstairs. Oh, and by the way, as I was arguing, my wife must have heard me upstairs because she sent me a text saying, "Have you tried restarting the computer?" But no. So I was sitting there and I you know, it's like I like the washer started blinking this like it wouldn't run, and then it started blinking this like MF or FH code or something like that.
Your trap's clogged.
Well, no, it isn't, because it's not the trap, because I went through all the traps that I can get to and I cleaned them all out and they were fine. The problem is that there's this circuit that when the water fills the basin, it forces air up into this tube, and once the water kind of hits a certain level, it tells the machine that it's full, and then it stops with the water. If the water runs for a certain amount of time and that doesn't happen, it turns off the water because it thinks it's going to flood out your basement, basically, because it doesn't want to because it thinks there's something broken with that circuit. So it would turn off. It turns off the washer. So it's a 12-year-old washer. I mean, and then we take a look at it, and the whole thing's there's water just pouring out of the back of it. And I was just like, you know,
maybe roll back the driver.
Yeah, I was thinking roll back the driver on the washer.
Reboot it.
Started.
I wish I had that feature in my house. It would have.
And I was just like, and I was just sitting there, just like saying, "You just can I just get a break?" You know, I mean, my niece is back in town, but she's doing really poorly, and it's just like we're under a lot of stress, and I'm like, yeah, I just need a break, you know. And then I'm like, and I'm moving the washer to kind of so I can get behind it, and of course I throw my back out. Yeah, I'm like, my back. Just like,
just keep going, Lance. So just let it all out, baby. We're here for you.
So I mean, like yesterday, I couldn't even. If I laid down, my back would just completely stiffen up, and like I knew as soon as I was going to sit up, it was going to be like somebody just shoving daggers in the back of my spine. But I knew I had to do it.
Can you turn your back off and on again?
Yeah, I was going to restart my back at the drivers. Check them out, you know. But you know, I did a video conference with a doctor, and the doctor is like, can you bend over? Does it hurt? Yes, it hurts when I bend over, you know, because I can't even go in there, you know. I'm like, yeah, it hurts a lot. Oh, okay, you know, they gave me a prescription for some really good muscle relaxers, so that was nice. And I mean, and I know, Barry, your back is 1,000 times worse, and so like you're like, here, hold my beer, you know, just
good day.
yeah. But I was just, like
Perry said, "I wish my back hurt like that."
Yeah, and then I am like just literally like losing my mind. And then this morning, my mom calls me up, and she's like, 9 o'clock in the morning, she calls me up. She's like, "I need help." Like I was like, and the thing is, okay, and I'm laughing and I'm joking, and at the same time, like my niece is in the ICU here in town, and it's not looking good. But I mean, we're all kind of in this like we're preparing mode, and it's just a fact of life, and it's but also it's like I get a phone call from my mom. I figure bad news, like really bad news. I mean, and it's just like, and I've kind of prepped myself for that every single time I get a phone call from my brother or my mom. But then she is, I need help. I was like, "What's wrong?" She's like, "There's water all over in my basement. My sump pump isn't working." I was like, "Oh, geez." So I drive over. Sure enough, she's got like 2 inches of water in her basement. And the sump pump is going because all the snow is melting and everything's going into the drain tile. And every single time it goes off, there's just water spraying into the air. And I was like, "Why wouldn't you unplug it?" It's like there's all this water now. So I'm like, I unplugged the sump pump, and she's like, "Can you fix it?" Well, my stepfather, it's the same sump pump they've had since they bought the house. It's 40 years old. So it's this archaic piece of technology that my stepfather, God rest his soul, had like just jury rigged with like duct tape and wire and all these things. He's got this held together. And I was just like, and she's like, Tony would always, I was like, "Mom, I have no idea what Tony was doing with this." I was like, "I don't know what to do. Call a goddamn plumber and get him over here. Just unplug it." I was like, so I just basically tried to like bail the water out of her basement, get it into the thing. And she's like, "Well, can you stay here until No, I have to work, Mom. I can't just sit here." Because like she calls, and it's like every old woman ever that calls, just like I was losing my mind, but finally, at least that got fixed. And I was just like, and the guy was trying to sell her on, for an extra $1,000, we can hook up a battery. I was like, "Put him on the phone, Mom. I'm not gonna have snake oil Jimmy, like trying to get an extra $1,000 out of you here." I just it's like, "Mom, the new sump pump will outlive you." She's like, "Don't say that." I was like, "You're not gonna live to be 116." Okay, so it's just. I've had a good last few days, and I'm just like I'm at wit's end. I'm just. But Roll20 D&D, that's a lot of fun. I'll say that. So I am happy that we figured that out, and we've been playing that.
What does Roll20 do?
So Roll20, you can just upload maps, and like and then you basically you can do fog of war and cover everything. And then so the players, as they move their tokens about the board, you can like you can show off more and more of the dungeon as you play.
It's tactical movement.
Yeah, and then they upload, because we're playing 5e, so you can just upload character sheets on there, and so they can, if they want to attack something, there's actually even like the daggers, or like the dagger or short bow, whatever you use to attack. You just click on on their character sheets. They can just click on the sword, and then it'll automatically roll a d20 plus whatever their proficiency is with that and stuff like that. And so it was, but that's good. It was so that's been fun. It's been fun, and everybody's way more interactive about it, and yeah, it's good stuff.
Awesome. Who's murdering the cat?
No, is that the cat?
What the hell are you doing with that there?
She's just, oh, hey, I got Rob here. So give me a second, man. Hey, it's Rob McBride.
Hey, Lance. Hey, guys. How are you?
Yeah.
Just so Aldi, you might have met him because I think you've shown off his games on the BGG TV or something. But he's good friends with Burkhart, the Berkey.
Hey,
guys.
Passed in the night.
Well, first of all, I want to get the commercial done for Rob pretty quickly. Go do Kickstarter Over Battle and check it out. It is a fantastic. Both combines like kind of like an area control type of thing, but also buckets of dice combat, which is something I love. So,
thanks, Lance.
Yeah. But I'll let Rob talk more about that, as time goes on. But Rob, this is a very so just so you know, Keith Collins is the official hanger-on, which he's not really an official hanger-on anymore. Pete Shirey is a big wig over at Cool Mini or Not. Barry, we just allow in here because we feel sorry for him. And Aldi is, of course, the guy who runs Board Game Geek. So,
I watched
kind
the
of
show.
a big deal.
I sit in on a few episodes, Lance. So, wow, you guys, I may not be familiar to you. You guys are familiar to me.
Anyway,
well, we're sorry about that.
Bob, I got to ask you. So tell us what your life as a gamer. Why do you love board games?
Why do I love board games? Oh my gosh, I like the challenge. I'm a challenge guy. If a game's not challenging and tactical and exciting, it's not for me. So for me, I have to come away spent. If I get into a game in a big epic type of thing, that's what I'm all about.
So the exact opposite of Aldi, who likes like if it isn't a word game, he doesn't play it.
That is not true, Lance.
You'll never see me do a draw, a roll and move, or a draw. None of those kind of things. That's just not my shtick.
I gotta go in a minute, Richard, so you can jump in my slot. I gotta
work.
Jump in your slot.
Giggity.
Giggity. No, so but hey, take some time and gab about your game, dude. And let
Over Battle.
Know.
Yes, Over Battle. It's big. We play on a 6-foot pop-up table. I designed it specifically for something that'll get you in, grab you. You can play in an evening and then be done. Those big war games, those big games that were always attractive to me in my gaming circles. I looked at them and said, okay, how can I make those a little bit better? Everyone always tried to come to my house to play, and so I have to set the game up by myself 35, 40 minutes before everyone arrived, and I'm like, man, there's got to be a better way. So Over Battle has no setup time. You sit down, you pull up your big boy pants, and it's time to play. The very first choice that you make matters, and then that all trickles through.
Let me actually interrupt you for a second. So it's cool because I got a chance to take the first time I got to play this was at BGG. Yeah, and what he's telling you is totally true because as you start, you have your units, but you're actually taking like control of planets or asteroids or moons, and like that's the setup is part of the whole play part of the whole thing. It's pretty awesome, and that I really like that. And the cool thing, and I'm going to step all over your toes here, is that one of the factions is actually like living amongst the other factions, which is when I got to play. And they eventually, at some point, will turn, but nobody knows exactly when the players, when that's going to exactly happen. So it's kind of neat being I'm kind of helping you now, but you have no idea when I'm actually going to start battling you all and taking things over. Anyway, I'll let you talk now.
Yeah, no worries. We were at BGG Con. I had a booth right there with Berkey. Berkey's booth. I designed the game to fit on the table topper, that Holmes 6-foot table topper, and it does fit on a standard pop-up table as well. But my mats, Berkey makes my mats for me, so they're his 3mm fully stitched edges, super good mats. And Berkey had his set up at BGG Con in Dallas, and he said, "Hey Rob, you want a booth set up right next to us?" And I said, "Sure." So I had a booth there in Dallas as well. And that's where you played, Lance. I think we played after hours. The show was closed, and we actually got a chance to play.
Yeah, before Aldi sent in his jackbooted thug just to kick everybody out of the room.
You were there. I think it was Brian Pope with Arcane Wonders, Berkey, and I can't remember who the fourth was, but I had a good time. It was interesting. Over Battle it's different. There's nothing quite like it. It is a war game, but it's not a war game, but it is a war game. So there's a Euro start where we're setting this stuff up, and all those things matter. You're going to have, because it's a 4-hour window, you're going to have that first 35, 45 minutes of setting that stuff up. You'll feel it in your stomach where you're in trouble. You'll know where you're safe. You'll know where you really got a problem. And we've not rolled any dice at all. And so for the Euro gamers, I think they really come away shocked at how much interest they have in that portion of the game. And then Then it's an introduction to area control. It's a war game in that regard. We're rolling dice. We're moving units. We're trying to engage and take over planets, moons, and asteroids. By the way, we're set in space, and so
by the way,
it's a space
In the
game
ocean.
with these aliens, and so we're trying to take over planets, moons, and asteroids. But you're going to control the ground to drive up your income. You may also have to fight over in open space to protect that income. So there's ground combat, there's space combat. Then we end up, like Lance said, I've got a character that's in the game. He works for everyone, but at some point he will turn on everyone. And so we know it's coming, we just don't know when. There are a couple of triggers. There's a time trigger, there's an event trigger. And so these triggers will happen. He will turn on you, and you do have to deal with them. At that point, it becomes a semi-cooperative, trust betrayal type of thing. Can I work with you? We were just at war. We just beat up on each other for 2 hours. But now that we have a common enemy, can I trust you? If I trust you, are you going to slide in behind me and take over my planet because I extended that trust too far? And so it's got a lot of unique dynamics. And then last, I'd say we've got a 3-dimensional combat board as well. So you have the ability to engage units in different planes. No pun intended. If you were a plane and you were attacking an infantry on a board game, it's linear. If I'm building trains across America, it's linear. If I'm collecting my wheat and playing side, it's linear. It's a board game. Well, in reality, in a war game, wouldn't a fighter come in from up high and come down on you? And wouldn't a guy just not sit there and get shot at? Wouldn't he get in a foxhole or find a place to protect himself? And so we've got this 3-dimensional combat board that comes into play for ground combat, and then we can apply it to space. There is no up and down in space, but there is forward and back. And so if I got a unit and I want to protect them by having them fall back within my fleet, I can do so. And that 3-dimensional combat, we call it the combat assault system, CASI for short. But CASI really adds this even another layer of uniqueness that people have just never seen before.
No, it's a heck of a lot of fun. Like I said, it's obvious you grew up in the 80s, like a lot of us.
Yeah, for sure. I'm 52, so yeah, I'm a child of the 80s.
The style of game is right there. So if you haven't backed it, go back it. If you back it, if you've already backed it, back it again. So,
there you go. Thank you. Yeah. We try to get traction, especially it's just about bandwidth. It's getting noticed. If you see the game, we took it to Essen, so we were at Essen on the floor. We've been at Gen Con twice. I've had a booth at PAX East twice, PAX South twice, PAX Unplugged twice. We were at BGG Con. BGG was actually my smallest booth. That was only 10 feet. We usually run a 20-foot show booth. So there's been thousands of people that have seen it. But a Kickstarter is a moving target, man. The Kickstarter keeps getting smaller and smaller because the time keeps ticking off, and we don't know what's going on in people's lives. And so you try to bring them in to your Kickstarter right at the right time. And then Isaac comes in and does an unbelievable job with Frosthaven in 2 days. That's just a top 10 type of thing. So we're just looking for bandwidth. If we get people to look at us, check it out, you're going to love it. You're going to fall in love with the game. It's that good, but it is just as a new guy breaking in, I don't have Simon's mailing list to go after, and I don't have Isaac's mailing list to go after, and so as a new guy working that self-published role, it's a challenge, but it's one that I've taken head on. I've spent 2+ years strictly developing the game, and it shows. Lance has got a copy of it, so he's got it.
It's fantastic. It's set up on my table back there.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's super great. Well, I mean, like I said, just don't be scared to jump in and talk about whatever. And we talk about everything and anything. So yeah. Other than that, how's everybody with the stir craziness going? Other than the fact that Aldi's cooking a lot.
I enjoy the cooking.
Yeah,
I cooked when I was growing up. My parents didn't. They cooked like half the time. We cooked the other half. And I worked in a restaurant. I worked at Ruby Tuesdays.
We're having pork chops for dinner. We're gonna fry pork chops and eggs, like a breakfast for dinner. We're having tonight.
I I totally missed the Ruby Tuesday Garden Bar. That is such a good salad bar.
I really wish it was here in Dallas, so we would go because I love that salad bar.
There's a Ruby Tuesdays like 2 blocks away from my mom's house, and so like if she's free, she and I will like go there and meet for salad. It's so good. I mean, that salad bar is amazing.
They also did blackened chicken and blackened fish.
Yeah,
and they had that that 2-inch iron that they just left on the hot, blazing hot gas.
Yeah.
Gas flame. And it almost was white hot. And you'd put it on there, and like thing would sizzle for like 60 seconds. 1,000,000 pounds of smoke would go up. It was great.
Wow, I had no idea you worked at a Ruby Tuesdays.
It's one of my better jobs.
I had no idea that Ruby Tuesdays were still around when you were like 50 years ago when you were a teenager.
50 years. It's almost been almost right. But that was not my best job. My best job was TCBY. I think we talked about this.
No, I don't think we did.
TCBY.
The country's best yogurt.
I think when I worked there, it was called This Can't Be Yogurt. That was the name of it.
Oh, yeah?
And I think it changed the name while I was there. Yeah, I worked a summer job there, and I went in. I had the morning shift. I would go in at like 10 o'clock. I'd pour the yogurt in the machine, turn the machines on, and sit around for 3 hours until first customer came in. I basically brought books to read. So that was the job.
The first real job I had was I worked as the fry cook at my brother managed a bar called Cactus Jack's, and it was hooked up to a bowling alley, and so I was the fry cook at his little restaurant there that had both. It served both the bowling alley and the bar, and so we'd get orders, and people would get just burgers. Chicken melts, lots of French fries, mozzie sticks, things like that. And just sit there and that was a good job. That wasn't bad.
My sausage stuffed meatloaf that I made the other night all day came out great.
Oh, nice.
I don't think you should call your wife that.
Are you cooking, Richard? You ordering?
Hello.
Are you cooking? Are you cooking more? You already cook a lot.
Oh, I hate cooking. Cooking is just the worst. I can think of few day-to-day activities that I find more despicable. And it's just a waste of time.
When
Jen and I were living alone in Malta, and she would take off for a week or two because she have to go to England or whatever to do glass work in her studio there or what have you. That would be a week or two where I subsisted almost entirely off of cold tuna straight out of a can with some mayonnaise swirled in.
No Hot Pockets and pizza rolls.
Nope. I'm all paleo. Easiest paleo thing is a can of tuna and a little bit of avocado mayo. Boom, done. Takes 30 seconds to make. Takes another minute to eat, and then you can move on with your life.
And the mercury only kills you slowly. So
Yep.
Are you an eat to live? You're an eat to live person. I take it instead of living.
I do not live to eat.
Yeah.
I'm sure I like eating. I'm glad that Jen enjoys cooking. That's great, but I couldn't be bothered. It just seems it's nice having good food, and Jen makes really good food. But if she didn't, then I just don't want to be in pain. So that's what eating is for. I mean, there's a few exceptions. I love ice cream so much. I have a huge sweet tooth. So when we're not doing sugar, then I don't really care what we're eating.
Yeah. Keith, do you cook or does your wife cook?
Either one of us will cook if we feel like it. We just never feel like it. So now I've been doing more of the cooking during this time, just because I don't trust going to get pickup. Because I figure every time you go out and pick up food, you're rolling the dice.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry, go on.
No, it's like what did Travis Chan say? He said if you had a bowl of Skittles, a bowl of 100 Skittles, and you said you can have one, but if you get the wrong one, it'll kill you. There's only one though. There's only one in there that'll kill you. Do you want a Skittle? No, you get that shit away from me.
Yeah, we've eaten or we've had takeout from a couple of the local restaurants that we like here, just because we just feel bad and want to support them a little bit. But it's a whole procedure. I go down there, I pick it up. They don't let you in the store. They'll just meet you out on the street. Actually, they are doing pretty well because they've now got kind of the main street of town is almost a drive-through for them with cars just backed up at dinner time. But when it comes home, and we just assume I am a walking biohazard. So we take all the stuff out onto the back porch, and Jen comes out with plates and whatnot. And since I've already touched it, I open everything and just without any of the external stuff, I pour it onto the plates so that Jen could take it in, and then I dispose of all the stuff, and then I come in and do my 20-second hand wash. And we have we couldn't find any Perel, but we got some hand wipe. So we've got those in the car. And as soon as I'm done with the guy, I go back and I wipe down the steering wheel because the only thing I've touched, I've been very, very careful about what I touched on the bag. And I swiped my card. So I didn't do any of that. I bring my own pen, so I don't use their pen to sign. It's really quite ridiculous, but probably for the best.
There's a doctor who put all that out.
Get it through food itself because it's very weak against heat. Although it's strong against cold, which is too bad because I like ice cream. So we've done that a couple of times. And we pretty much do the same thing every time another game or whatever or package shows up. We just take it around to the back and go through this whole process. Because make no mistake, my mom will die if that gets in this house. And I don't know if we won't die either from, some of the stories I have read about how
they're saying the average age now is 46 or something. It's gotten lower.
Anybody can get
it was much higher when it first came out. It's now in my age range now. So
we talked about the heat. We're here in Arizona. We just started our lockdown yesterday. And so all last week it was voluntary and we did nothing but drive up and take out. We didn't wipe down all of our stuff when we brought it in, but we did limit our exposure, went to the grocery and got that stuff. And I know Lance knows. My sister just got out of the hospital in Tennessee. She had COVID-19. She has the virus.
Oh, wow.
And she went in. She started feeling bad on Wednesday. She went in the hospital on Friday. I found out about 3 a.m, Friday morning. And by Friday afternoon, when they came back with her test results that she was positive, they put her in isolation, and she was miserable. I'm the only person I know that knows someone who actually has had it, and it happens to be my sister. She's in Tennessee. I'm in Arizona, so I've not seen her outside of Facebook for a year. But she was really bad Friday and Saturday, and then Monday. What is today? Wednesday? Monday, she started asking about her dogs and about her house. And so then I knew she'd turned the corner a little bit. She wasn't just trying to get that next breath. She's actually concerned about, hey, how are my dogs? And then yesterday they actually sent her home. They gave her papers and said, now you're through a little bit of window. You're still contagious, but we need you to stay at home to self-isolate for 10 days. So we can get this hospital bed turned over for somebody else. And then she messaged me just a while ago and said she was on the local news with her situation. So, and she's 43, 44. So she's not old at all,
Yep. Well, no, when I read a popular YouTube girl who does the Star Wars stuff, Jenny Nicholson, I enjoy her show.
She got it.
She posted her experiences having it.
Wow.
And she had to be hospitalized. They had to give her steroids. She had fainting spells. They had to keep her on a respirator for a couple of days. And it just sounded like absolute hell. And you hear lots of anecdotal. That this could have long-term, scarring effects on your lungs as well. I know I'm confident I'll survive it, but I don't imagine I'll want to while I'm going through it. So
my sister told me that for her experience, I saw on the X-rays. She had me on her camera phone thing when the doctor came in and showed the X-rays, and she had bilateral pneumonia, so both lungs were really, really white. And she said on Sunday, she said, if I lay still, I can breathe a little bit, and my headache starts to go away. However, the doctors tell me that's when your lungs start to solidify and that glass inside of your lungs. And so it's almost a reward for giving up. So instead, they made her get up, and she had to get up and walk around.
Wow.
And her headache came on, her diarrhea, her vomiting, all of those things. But by moving, it forces your body to react. If you just lay still and give in, like the old people have probably are doing, because they just can't fight that long, that's when it starts to kick in. So she, in her situation in the hospitals, were making all of those in isolation. Move, get up and move, and just deal with the vomiting, deal with the headaches, drink a lot of water. She was having lots of sweats, and so she was sweating through her bedclothes. They were changing her clothes 2, 3, 4 times a day on Saturday and Sunday. But I don't know if that's.
She was dying.
Yeah. It's something else.
But the kids don't want to stop their spring break, so more power.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Hey,
Group homes are a problem too. Michelle's aunt just got diagnosed. She lives in a group home.
Yeah.
I mean, she never went out. So it had to be someone coming in.
Yep.
Wow.
Anyway, so got to deal with that. She was sent home almost immediately. She had the fever. They took her in and they sent her home. So.
It's weird how it affects different people differently. I've heard some people that said they barely felt anything, and then other people fight for their lives. It really is just a makeup of what you've got going on inside you, of how it's going to affect you. Yep, everyone's different.
Really, really mad that the best case scenario is 150,000 dead. Anybody really mad at that? I'm so pissed off. I woke up pissed off. I'm just on edge all day.
It's sad. It's sad to think that that's the best case scenario. But then when you look at the numbers, it's a very small percentage of the world population, but it's still such a big number if you take it out of context and look at it individually. That's a city. That's an entire city, a small city's worth of people. But then when you look globally, it's
no, it's
1%. It's
corrected my number, by the way. Now the new best case is 200,000.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it's going to keep going up.
So
it's nowhere near being peak yet. So I'm sure that number's going to.
Trump's ready. He basically said today 3-4 days from now. I guess they've told him there's this. They've done the math, right? And
I thought they said it was going to be mid-April now, where the peak. 2 weeks is what I heard on his press conference on Friday.
So let me just say this.
A day dying.
So now I want you guys just to think about what I'm saying here, because I had a very long discussion with somebody who is relatively. They're going to remain nameless. You can ask me in private chat. I won't give you the name just because I'm going to keep it to myself. But I talked to a lot of people, and I was talking to somebody and he's one of my few right-wing libertarian friends that I can actually stand to a certain point, so I can get past some of the things. And he said, he's like, and this is his mentality. He's like that. It might be sad, he said, but what's worse? And I'm not saying I agree with him. I'm just gonna say that. He goes, if 200,000 people die, but we maintain our economy and we don't have a downriver thing of having a lot of people unemployed, a lot of people losing their homes, a lot of people, just being economically destitute. He's like, it's that's something you have to think about. And he said, and the leaders of the world, and he says it isn't exactly the same thing, he said, but there are times when leaders of the world have gone to war, knowing full well that thousands of their people were going to die in that war. But that's why they're there. They're there to make the tough decisions. And he said, I thank God I don't have to make that kind of a decision. But
he's saying capitalism has to survive at all costs.
Well, but he's saying what's the right number? What's the right number of people that's acceptable that die? But we also don't have a huge
complete economic collapse.
An economic collapse.
Thing. How many people would die if we had an economic collapse and the suicide rate shoots up and crime shoots up and murder shoots up? It's a no-win situation. People are going to die regardless of what we do. It's a matter of mitigation and what's the lesser of the two evils.
Yeah,
and we've not experienced a situation where you have no natural immunity for 100 years. The Spanish flu, which killed millions and millions of people, worldwide, and that was 1918. So just 100 years ago. But we just haven't in our lifetimes, in our grandparents' lifetimes, we have no relative history that we can fall back on and say, "Oh yeah, my grandma told me about that." We just haven't experienced a situation where our bodies have no natural immunity to an unknown new thing.
And that's
I think if this thing hit at the time of the Spanish flu, you'd have had way worse outcome than the Spanish flu.
But here's the deal. So, and that's like the question that nobody wants to answer, right? Nobody wants to actually think about the fact that like there's a balance there, and I don't know what the answer is. I mean,
no one does, Lance.
No, and it's so tough. I mean, as long as it's people I don't know, it's easier for people to like say.
I guarantee you're gonna know somebody.
Well, I know.
Before it's over.
I mean.
Well, look at it this way.
The odds are that you will know somebody before it's over.
Could be me.
Not to bring everybody down.
Yeah.
Not to bring everybody down. But I mean, on something. But like my niece is most likely transitioning into hospice care, and like she's in at the clinic here in town. Because they shut down the hospitals, she has to basically face death without any of her family around her. You just can't go see her. They aren't letting anybody visit the hospitals because of what's going on.
They won't let her do in-home hospice care?
She has to be on a ventilator right now. So it's like her real life goal at 32 years old is, can I live long enough for this to be over so I can see my daughters one more time before I die?
How was her surgery thing yesterday?
It went well. They thought maybe she had a brain bleed
yesterday.
And they got it, and they took care of it, and then they were a little bit worried there when she was coming to. They couldn't get her to recognize people, but she responded like, squeeze our hand, stick your tongue out, Good. That kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, she's as good as can be. She is as good as she can be. But no, I mean, and that's just it's life, right? I mean, it's what happens. Nobody gets out alive.
I have a different opinion. Yep. This was ineptitude and a bunch of fucking bullshit politics. I'm a person who can't handle the job. That's my end of story.
It's the whole planet, Scott. It's
to answer your question. Trump doesn't make me mad because he's just a narcissistic.
Let Richard talk. I
was just gonna say, Trump doesn't make me mad because he's a narcissistic snake oil salesman. Lance's libertarian friend makes me mad.
That's ridiculous.
That's the fucking asshole. That is the enabler of the narcissistic snake oil salesman.
Okay, so let me ask you this.
I know
what is the correct answer then, Richard? You tell me.
The correct answer to our current situation?
Yeah.
Well, actually seek help from the rest of the world as opposed to turn it away, although cat's out of the bag. I mean, we can't fix what went wrong, I suppose. But no, the answer, I hate to sound, it's going to sound so trite. It's basically the platform that Andrew Yang fucking ran on. Pump money into fucking everybody's wallet directly. And don't fucking stop when this is over, because it's the future. The future is probably going to be here a few years earlier because of the catastrophic worldwide economic meltdown we're going to have. Your friend saying, oh, well, if we lose 250,000 people and save the economy, fuck that guy. 250,000 people taken out of the economy. Never mind all the ancillary damage is going to be done because of the healthcare system that's completely overrun. So how many additional people are going to die because of this? The economy's fucked already. It's already fucked. It's not going to get unfucked. And the only answer is to run, not walk, to our inevitable future of fucking UBI, of a world that is rich enough, because this country is the richest manifestation of humanity in all of our combined history. There is more than enough money to go around. There are more than enough empty houses in this country to take care of every single homeless person alive today. And there is more than enough money to do what needs to be done to ensure that everybody is guaranteed a basic level of survivability. It will not cause people to suddenly curl up and say, oh, I don't have to work anymore. How many people are going stir crazy because they can't work right now? Not because they need to, but because people have a drive and an urge. This is the solution. And it will happen. I didn't used to think it would happen in my lifetime. I thought maybe if Yang could get pushed, maybe it could, but who knew? COVID is Yang's platform on steroids. It demands fundamental change, fundamental rewriting of our entire society. Because this isn't going to be the fucking last time this happens either.
Right.
This is going to be the new fucking normal. And we have to accept the fact that we have to take care of everybody, because in short order, do you think corporations are going to be excited to get all these people coming back to work for them who in 5 years, 10 years are going to have the same problem again when some other bat somewhere cross mingles with an octopus or whatever? This is just going to speed up automation even more. Amazon is already selling their automated supermarket technology to other supermarkets. No one's going to have a job at Walmart in a decade. Walmart's going to be 100% automated in every store across the country in a fucking decade. That's our future. This is just a sneak peek with grisly overtones. That is the only solution, is that we have to stop pooling all our money in. Forget about the top 1%. Forget about the top 5%. How about the top 20%? The top 20% doesn't need to. I mean, how many billionaires do we have? That's my feeling. I felt it before. I feel it even more now. And so, yeah.
Did you see the tweet that said nobody should be allowed to have $1 billion? Once you get to 999 million, everything else you get goes right back into the economy, or gets donated to the poor. And then you get a park built in your name that says you won capitalism.
Exactly. Yeah, like SimCity. I think SimCity had a special trophy you could put in your park when you hit 1 million.
So Richard said everything I wanted to say. Thank you. I also want to add everything has to be shut down, including airplanes. It had to be done a month ago, and it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And so now, like you said, the cat's out of the bag. There's no putting the genie back in the bottle. Here we are. So
it's the only way to break it back. We have to shut down.
Before you go,
gotta go.
I had 2 questions for you, Scott Alden.
Yes, sir.
One, so what's this I hear about Board Game Geek helping friendly local game stores?
Yeah, so if you put if you're a game store and put your items in the Geek Marketplace and you ship, then we're waiving fees.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, good for you, sir.
I'm not sure. I haven't looked into how many people have actually taken advantage of that.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, is it helping at all?
I know at least one guy for sure.
Okay.
But I haven't looked.
And then my other thing, hearing you, it feels like for years now, I've heard you talk about how, you guys eat out 95% of the time. And obviously now you're posting your latest culinary masterpieces on Facebook with your weird 3D picture technology, however the fuck you do that.
iPhone 11.
What? Oh, it's an iPhone thing?
Yeah, if you do a portrait photo in iPhone and upload it to Facebook,
all right,
you can convert
it. Freak me out, those pictures. Okay. Makes me not want to scroll. I have to page down to get past.
Because you don't like the weird
parallax. I lose myself in your eggs.
I'm like I'm like a tech file, right? I want to see.
I was wondering, do you think? I mean, this too shall pass.
Yes.
Is it fundamentally changed you and Michelle in terms of your relationship with food? Do you think you'll keep it up, or as soon as this is over, you're back to 90% of all your food is
predicted?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Have you had any fun doing the cooking?
Here's the problem. The way, so we'd probably eat more if she didn't have to drive like 45 minutes to get home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like she gets off at 6, drives for 45 minutes. By the time she's home, it's 7 o'clock. We go out to do I cook at 7 p.m. or do I just want to go out? It's like that's what we'll be faced with. I'll cook more. I'll probably cook something. Now that I know, and I'm sped up my technique. Like I can get stuff done way faster now that I'm like, oh yeah, I don't have to wait for that to finish before I can finish that, right? So
yeah,
it's fun. I like
any good Euro. It's all about efficiency,
right? Well, if I could do 4 pieces of toast at once instead of just doing 2 and flipping it, right? Like that was kind of dumb. I don't know why I did that. Anyway,
all right. Well, you can go now.
Hope everybody stays safe. I love you guys.
Take care, brother.
Bye.
Well, I appreciate
Hi,
you
Barry.
sharing your frustration there, Richard. I can always count on you for a gut feeling.
Well, yeah. In all honesty, the reality is, I mean, I know I've mentioned this before. This doesn't change my life at all. There were times in Malta where I literally would not leave the apartment for over a week. I had no reason to. Totally voluntarily. I have no desire to go outside. If it weren't for our dogs and our chickens, there's nothing out there for me. Everything I need in this world is in this little house.
Hey, Lance, did you send Jason a link? He was asking if we were running.
He should have gotten it. I'll find it again. Hold on.
You have his email?
Yeah, I have his email. So yeah,
I tell you what, I'm struggling. I started working from home. Really, today was the day that we decided I'm going to work from home every day, which is tough for me because my people have to be at the plant. And that's one of those things that since I can work from home, I should work from home. But it's really tough leaving your people.
You don't leave a man behind.
They're to have to fend for themselves because they've got to be on site to do their work or at least be on site part-time. Whereas I can do my job almost completely remotely. And if I had to run in, I can run in long enough to go in and do something. And it's a mental struggle to do that. But the wife's already been working from home and she's got a renal disease. She's got asthma. You know, she's primed for this thing to kill her. And I've had a cough for 32 freaking days. So I'm sure everybody thinks I had the plague when I walk around, but I don't want to catch this thing when I'm still coughing from whatever I came down with on March 1st.
To Richard's
And so
point,
it's a weird thing.
The future is now. Think about commercial real estate. If everyone can work from home, who really needs their leases anymore? And that entire breakdown of rental space and office space, how many people are going to look out and say, look, I was able to effectively run my operation remotely. Why do I need my office space? You're going to have entire buildings that will have no tenants. Because there's no need for it. I think we'll have this realization that will drive fundamental changes in the commercial real estate worlds of all of our businesses.
Yeah, well, that was already happening before this with shopping malls.
Yep. Shop malls are dead. Yeah.
Yeah, they're a blight everywhere they go.
Yep.
And, we need government initiatives to turn those into thriving community centers. Everything needs big government intervention, federal level government intervention, and somebody brave enough to do what needs to be done. But it'll be a very difficult fight. I mean, it's a generational fight. It will take a few generations for people to come around to the idea that their self-worth is not determined by their job, because all of human history is working against that fundamental assumption. Everybody, the first question you ever ask when you meet somebody, oh, what do you do? As if that defines you as a person. When it should be, oh, what do you like? What are your hobbies? I mean, things that are more of a reflection of the true you. What type of friend are you? Those should be the questions we ask somebody instead of what do you do, because it's so ingrained in us. This societal, But I'm sorry, I can just keep going.
For some of us, what we do is part of who we are.
Just trailing off there.
What I do is part of who I am, though, and it's a big part of who I am. I make drugs that help people. That's something that I can be proud of.
Yeah.
That's something that I have a passion to do.
And that's great. And our world will still allow for that.
Right.
But not everybody can do your job, Keith.
Right. And that's what I'm talking about, though. It's when you
and
say
so,
what do you do as a part of who you are. Not for everyone, but for a lot of people it is.
It like I said, it requires literal from top down or bottom up fundamental reprogramming of humanity. That people have to look for something other than a successful, vibrant career as a thing that makes them give their sense of self-worth. People have to look more to how successful are they in their personal relationships That's what they have to use as a yardstick to define, am I a worthwhile person? Do I have meaning in this world? Yes, I do. If I make other people happy, if I improve the lives of others. I don't have to have a 9-to-5 job at a 7-Eleven to do that, or drive people around in an Uber, which will soon disappear with vehicle automation, or work a cash register, or work a call center, or farm, or anything. Yes, there will still be jobs, this weird kind of conflux between technological innovation and creativity, something that computers will probably never truly be able to match our ridiculous gray matter. And for a long time, there will still be just raw dexterous things that robots will not, it's going to be a long time before you have a really effective, can work in any circumstance, robot plumber. Plumbers will be with us for a long time, which is why free college for all is not a fucking solution for anything. Pushing, more technical, colleges and whatnot. That's put all behind me when Yang dropped out. Oh, I'm a little rusty on all of it as well.
Yeah,
college
is a great foundation to get yourself into a job. You can't go to college and learn how to do pharmaceutical quality.
Yeah,
that's not taught in college. You only learn that from doing the job and learning it. You learn how to do things. You could learn the fundamentals in college, but you could learn the fundamentals on the job too, if you have good leaders who are also teachers.
Yeah, at some point, I'm not quite sure when, college became this mandatory thing, and it's a false. I mean, what is it? It's like, what's the stat? Is 40% for the last 10 years of all college graduates end up with careers that did not require that degree. Jen's got friends who have college-age kids who are in their mid-20s now, who struggled for years trying to actually make good use of real good, solid degrees, and they could not find jobs because there just will not be enough moving forward.
My boss
will not stop babies from being born.
My boss at U.S. Bank, she she was all finance and everything like that. She had a degree in preschool education. It had nothing to do with running a team at a project team at a bank.
Yeah,
nothing at all.
Well, the cost of college has gone up so much more than inflation has. Even it's crazy.
Yeah. To your point on Andrew, I hope we see him again. He had significant ideas, and even in energy. I remember his energy position, where why are we using nuclear solutions that poison the planet for tens of thousands of years when we could use thorium solutions that have a radioactive half-life of only 100 years.
Yeah.
So you need to build 3 of them instead of 1, but it only has a radioactivity half-life of 100 years, produces the same amount of energy as opposed to poisoning the planet for 100,000 years. And those were very, very well-founded things. I'm a middle-of-the-road guy sometimes, but I appreciated Andrew in a lot of ways. So I look forward to Yang in the future.
Oh, well, he'll be back. I mean, he hasn't gone anywhere. He's just now trying to push his agenda through more traditional mainstream venues, CNN specifically, and appearing. I mean, that's how Trump made it. Trump would not have been elected president if he had not spent years on TV convincing a decent percentage of the American population that he's a really smart guy on Celebrity Apprentice. He's the decider, the real decider. And people were brainwashed into believing his snake oil. So, I in spite of my ranty ranterson, I am still genuinely optimistic for the future of humanity. Our only true threat is not COVID or skyrocketing education or depression due to opioid overdoses.
It's Trump.
Any of the rest of this stuff. No, our only true, real problem we face as a society is climate change. That's the only thing we can't undo. Everything else, to Lance's libertarian friend's point, well, you know what? Yeah, it'll take a lot of pain and hardship. But you know what? There's a lot of pain and hardship in 1918. And World War II made a little bit of a blip as well. So we'll recover from all that. The Earth, as a fundamental system, is not necessarily is quite as recoverable. I mean, we'll find a way around that too. 500 years from now, Earth is basically going to be Coruscant when it boils right down to it. That is the future of our planet.
Oh, could I be in the Jedi Temple then?
Depends on what day you got to be careful what day you show up for work.
I gotta check my midichlorian level. See if I can get it.
And it's all a question of how do we get from here to there.
Oh, you just reminded me of something that's a little more lighthearted. So my son and I, so he's obviously home. So we started watching Star Wars, and we watched them in the order. We watched 1, 2, 3, Rogue One, Solo.
And I'm sorry, what was his exposure prior? Is this all new to him?
He's watched a lot of Star Wars Rebels. He watched a lot of YouTube videos and stuff of it like that. But anyway, so it's 1, 2, 3, Solo, Rogue One, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we went out and rented 9 and watched that. Mm-hmm. So we got through all of it, and he'd watched some of it when I was just had it on, but we actually watched all of them because he had missed most of the prequels. He had only seen Force Awakens, and so we got the whole thing done. And I was like, and we were like, yeah, we watched all the Star Wars movies, and that was kind of cool. And we were like, and he was quoting stuff to me, and you're not gonna believe me, Richard. You're not gonna believe me, but he came up to me. Okay, he came up to me, and he said, we were actually picking up a couple of groceries, making sure we ran into the grocery store and ran back out as fast as we could. And as we were checking out, he looked at me and he goes, "What's your least favorite Star Wars movie?" And I was just like, and I just said to him, "Well, tell me what yours is." "Last Jedi," he said. And I was like, "Really? Why?" And he said, "Because Rey screamed and Jedi shouldn't scream. And Snoke was too powerful. He shouldn't have died like that." And I was just like, I've got to tell Richard.
I think that kid has a bright future in Star Wars YouTube punditry, because that's about the same level of critical analysis I've seen from most folks.
From the mouths of babes, baby. He just was like, but. And then I said, "Well, what's your favorite movie?" And I was just like, "Come on, say Empire. Just say Empire." And he said, "Revenge of the Sith." And I was like,
good choice.
Well, it's not a bad movie. Of the prequels, it's probably the best of the 3. But I mean, he was like, "Come on, just say Empire Strikes Back. Let me know I raised you right." But he couldn't. He got halfway there.
So kids would not like Empire Strikes Back the best.
Yeah, I guess there's something.
New Hope is the correct answer if you're under 15. It's New Hope.
He really liked the lightsaber battle at the end of Revenge of the Sith.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's great after it takes advantage of technology and other things that you could have done that in A New Hope had you had the technology and everything else going.
It was funny, and he had to have gotten it from a YouTube video. But he said to me, he's like, "You know what I really liked in Phantom Menace?" Because he didn't really like Phantom Menace that much, probably because there's just too much going on. And I thought for sure he was going to say something about Jar Jar, but he didn't. He said, "No, what I really liked," he said, "Obi-Wan beat Darth Maul because he had the low ground."
Just like... Disney streaming service is missing out right now with everybody at home. The Mandalorian was really, really good. I bet they wish they would have greenlit a few more projects to provide all of humanity with the ability to watch. We're all stuck with watching the Tiger King. Right.
Hey,
yeah. Before I go, I wanted to talk about Tiger King because
Tiger King. I saw the whole thing, so I'm like, oh my god.
My wife and I we haven't finished it, but we have been devouring it, and
I've seen the whole thing. I apologize. I've seen the whole thing.
So I remember you've been watching it. I've been watching it. Anyone else watched any of the Tiger King?
See, I remember when Joe Exotic. They actually did something about Joe Exotic on the Daily Show, or no, not the Daily Show. The Oliver, the last week
night with John Oliver.
He actually did a whole thing about
that's in the show. So
yeah,
it'll be as part of that. One thing I'll say is I have never watched a documentary type show where I've decided by the end I hate everyone that is in this show. Every single person.
And
is a
given enough
horrible
time, it'll
human
probably
being.
bleed out to your overall feeling about humanity as a whole.
Well, did you see how like everybody that was part of that show, they've all come out and just decried it. They've said this is not me. They're
That's
showing me in a
because they
bad
all
light.
look like horrible people.
Oh, really, Mister? I run my cult. You think it's showing you in a bad light?
Yeah.
Just like, I mean,
Yeah.
not a lot of
Even the
cult
guy
leaders.
that's barely in it comes off as an asshole. It's just
Even Carol's husband. Carol's husband wishes he wasn't even mentioned, and he's not been alive for 20 years.
Oh, she totally killed him. She totally killed him. No doubt in my mind.
Tiger food. Tiger food.
Oh no, you just I went. She didn't feed them to tigers. That's just salacious. I mean, you're in Florida. You just take a boat out into the ocean, you drop it, and you're never heard from again.
yeah, everybody was horrible. Like I watched the Carol lady, and it's like you are the same as them.
Yeah.
You may be worse, but you're the same regardless. You're all horrible people. I want you all to go to jail.
You all need to be removed from the removed from the general populace, as they say.
Cool.
Well, most of them were from jail, weren't they?
Yeah, they all were from jail. Yeah,
Except for the woman.
Yeah, he hired them, right? Those derelicts and folks that needed a hand up.
because they're cheap.
Was
Pay them
Joe's,
$100
Joe's thing.
$100 a week, $150 a week, and all the free Walmart meat they can eat.
Oh,
And I'm pretty sure every one of them was armed illegally because they were probably all convicted felons.
Yeah, I'm sure they were.
Oh,
They were
gosh.
all packing weapons, weren't they?
Oh, the worst freaking safety handling I've ever seen. I was just like, one of them's going to end up shooting somebody.
And he did. Shot himself right in the head.
yeah, good point.
Yeah, no.
So that's a little bit spoiler, but I won't talk about the character or anything. But when that was coming up and what was leading to, I'm like, we haven't seen any live footage of that dude. I'm wondering that as soon as they made the statement of it's a Ruger, it doesn't fire without the clip, and I'm like, that guy shot himself. And 10 seconds later,
Just when you thought it couldn't get any weirder, it
that's
gets
one of those things
weirder.
when you understand things. It's like, oh well, they used to not, but they fixed that or took out that feature.
We binged it in one day. We just had it on. We just left it on and let it play. And I don't know that I would have revisited it, but happy that it got over. Got to see the end, I guess. But for what that's worth.
Oh, it's just watching a big train wreck. It's just
Yeah.
It
I
just
wasn't
makes you feel good about your own life.
I wasn't
It's
even
like
planning on watching
Springer.
it. My boss was like, "You got to see this. This is just a train wreck, and just when you think it gets bad, it gets worse." And I'm like, "Okay." And I watched the first episode, and I'm like, "Man, this is really weird." But it's not that weird. It's like I've seen weirder people. And then episode 2, I'm like, "Oh man, this is getting deep." And then episode 3, I'm like, "This is getting dark and deep." And then it just went out of control from there. And I'm
And
like,
you're like, wait, he's married to 2 dudes? What?
it was it definitely I don't know if it would have been as popular if everyone wasn't forced inside and all that,
Right.
but
I agree.
it was definitely something I never thought I would ever see in my life.
Oh.
Well, as my wife said, why is it always the trashiest humans or like the people that do this stuff?
If there's a natural disaster, isn't that who they put on television for the tornado? You know, they go find the
Yeah.
derelict person to give them the microphone and speak with. It's always like, where's the doctor's house that got destroyed from the tornado?
Yeah.
It's never.
Holy shit, did y'all see this?
Yeah,
Because they're not as entertaining.
right.
Because those are the people that were dumb enough to stand out in it.
Mhm.
That's why they saw it to talk about it.
Mhm.
It's oh my, it makes you feel better about yourself, I guess. Oh my, but it was at least entertaining while I've been. Well, I haven't played any games for a board game forever. Even
Me
before
neither.
this, even before this hit, I hadn't got anything played.
I haven't played a board game since before Gamma, so mid-February. And I'd say, New York Toy Fair was the last time I played a board game. That was February 18th. That
A
was
couple of weeks ago, I played 2 games, and then it had been 3 weeks or month before that or anything. I haven't even played anything by myself.
I played a few games with the family. Like we played Scrabble. Me and my wife played Scrabble one night, and I played Sugar Blast with my daughter. But like now, real meaty board games. I haven't played anything with substance since January, pretty much. A couple demos I ran at Toy Fair, but that's not even really playing a game. It's going to be a while. My wife's not a big gamer, so I don't imagine I'll get to play any board games until May, probably.
Last we did was PAX East Boston. So we had our booth there at PAX East and had Over Battle set up, and we played at PAX East and played that, and we played Battlestar Galactica in the free area after the show shuts down. You've got all the gaming tables that are available, and that was the last thing. So whatever that was, the first weekend of March. So right at a month.
BSG is awesome. One of the best games ever.
Yeah, it's good. And my friend has a neoprene mat that he had done, and it's got the dials for the forward and back, and it's pretty slick, really slick. He's got all of his cards are sleeved, and those are those little small cards, right? So you have to find those unique sleeves, and he's got a wonderful setup for it.
Sorry to change the subject, but Lance just wrote, Forrest is alive and well. Tell us more.
Oh, he had that guy move in with his family,
right.
And like, so I mean, he's literally got a house full of people, and so he's usually playing games with them, and so it's just like so there really isn't any time for him to be on the air. That's just all.
Is he still going to work?
No,
is his daycare shut down?
They shut down the schools, so I think he's doing some work from home stuff for them. So I mean he's good. He's good. I mean he says it's just going crazy. He's got like 10 people in his house or whatever. So, and nobody can leave. So
yeah,
it's yeah.
But it seems like he's always living so close to the edge.
Yeah, but I mean I think. I don't know. I mean, I honestly think the school system's still paying him, so I think.
Oh wow! Okay,
yeah,
that's great.
So because like they're able to still do some of that distance learning. Like my kids are going to school at home now.
Oh really?
They well good. At 9:00, they both get emailed their plan. It's easier for my daughter because they have a Chromebook for everybody.
Mine too.
Yeah, so she's got the Chromebook, and she just like the teacher sends out an email to everybody, and you have to do this, and this, and then you have to log in at this time, and then the teacher, will teach, via webcam to the kids. Like even her book club, she had a book club that she went to on Wednesdays after school. Well, now the book club, all of the people that are in the book club meet online, and they discussed they're reading Pride and Prejudice right now. So
wow,
yeah, and so then they get together and they talk about it. I heard her giggling a lot, so I think there was a lot more talking about like I don't know what, but I don't think there's a lot of Pride and Prejudice. Not a big giggle fest out of that book, I'm sure. But it was good because I know she misses her friends a lot, and one of her friends was like, maybe I can come over. And I was just like, Riley,
Nope.
if that kid came over, I mean, which, whatever. I mean, first of all, like, house them with delousing spray or something before they come over. But once they're here, we can't let them go. I mean, I know of people that are like, I know of people in the gaming industry, like in the role-playing gaming industry, that like have like ranches out in Oregon who they've just taken in a lot of kids from outside. Just that they're just staying at their ranch kind of thing, with the idea that you can't go home. I mean, you just until it's safe to go home. Because they just
wow.
Yeah, no, I mean it's well, like you said, this is an unprecedented time.
Yeah, it's not like we can huff Lysol. It's inside here that's gonna make the difference. Not necessarily on our persons. It may be on products that we acquire it from, but once we have it, it's internal. So,
well, and then so the other thing is that I was thinking about was like, what was it? God, like gaming conventions or conventions in general, but the conventions that actually affect us, gaming conventions. We just won't. I mean, Origins isn't going to happen, even though they said we're not.
Comic-Con or Gen Con's going to happen either.
Yeah, they're like, oh well, we're not going to make a decision until May 1st. Well, there's no way in hell you're going. That's just them hoping against hope that they won't have to give back all the money. I mean, that's that. As far as that goes.
The cancellations that I've seen within the communities here, whether it's jewelry shows or any kind of shows, they're not giving back any refunds. They're just saying we are postponing the event. When we reschedule the event, you have already prepaid. And I don't know that that's the right answer, but that's certainly out here the way that that's going. So they're not refunding anything.
I know game designers who are waiting for basically royalty checks who have been basically told we can't pay you right now. And, just because we don't have any money,
Yep.
And I've had a lot of people say that. It's just like, and it's just, what do you do? I mean, you can't, get blood out of a stone, right? I mean, it's just like you go outside and yell at the sun, as they said, because and make sure
royalty sucks.
Yeah, and make sure that you're not within 6 feet of anybody.
There were distributors that just announced yesterday that they weren't. That they were shutting down and they weren't paying their suppliers.
Yep.
And then I heard today that there were a couple high-profile game companies that we all know, probably have games on our shelves right behind you, that did layoffs just today. If there's no money coming in, it's really difficult to send money back out. Our household, we're fortunate enough that we work in industries where the income is annuitized and we get money monthly, but we are an anomaly in that regard. So her staff can work from home, can still get paid as essential services. But nevertheless, most people, if there's not money coming in, a business certainly can't pay the money back out. We're in a new paradigm.
Yeah, it's it's a different world. I mean, and
I work in an industry where we have to work, and then I've got we've got people that work for us upset because they have to work.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we make pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
People need pharmaceuticals. People don't stop needing drugs.
Yeah.
At a time like this, and in fact, in a lot of ways, they need them even more. And we make the cheap stuff. I make generics, so I make the stuff that's the most affordable stuff, the stuff people want to take. And our plant is probably the only place that maybe have better air quality in my county than my facility is a surgical suite at the hospital and the hospital's isolation rooms.
Keith, do you think your staff are troubled because they don't want to come out and expose themselves to get to work, or not know how others at work have been quarantining themselves while they're at home? Is that what their concerns are?
Well, my staff isn't even worried about it. My staff, I've got people that they want to be there. It's the manufacturing operators on the manufacturing floor. It's the lower down you go on the totem pole, the more that the rumor mill drives everything than actual fact.
Yeah. I imagine the people that have to clean the bathrooms at your facility don't want to be there because they're not really essential, but they are because the company's essential, but they've got to deal with everyone else's germs in the bathroom.
No,
I can understand them not making a lot of money.
We contract out the cleaning of the restrooms, but like our people on the floor, they have N95 masks on anyway because they can't sit there and breathe active pharmaceutical grade. Actually, they have stuff that's better than N95 because they have supplied air and things like that they wear when they're in the manufacturing room. In the hallways, they're out there, but then they'll go to the break room, and instead of distancing in the break room, they'll all pile onto the same table. Right? No, you need to spread out. So they're causing the situation that could make them sick. We actually had an employee test positive, but they were positive. The test result just came back like 2 days ago. They hadn't been on site for 11 days, and they had been in the hospital. They recovered, but it doesn't look like – it looks like the fact that he came down sick after he'd been out of the plant for about 5-6 days. It's been 11 days since he's last in the plant. Nobody else has come.
So he hadn't kept working until he presented. He had coincidentally.
He coincidentally because they have like 3 days off in between shifts where they work 12-hour shifts. He may have even been off, so it may have just
He
been
might
a
have gotten
complete
lucky.
coincidence. I mean, he didn't catch it at the plant. He caught it somewhere else. So who knows? Maybe I had it. I don't know. I was sick on the 1st, and I thought that was too early to be that. You know, I started with fever and congestion and lungs, but the fact is, an antibiotic kicked its butt pretty quickly. And so I assume it was a bacterial thing.
It's gonna be so hard too with pollen season and everything now. There's gonna be so many false negatives. I know
Right.
I'm having trouble breathing because every time this year we're blooming here in South Carolina and it's hard to breathe walking the dog. It's like, oh my God, this is horrible.
Influenza A is going around our community like crazy right now too. And we actually had one dude test positive for H1N1 a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've got all the other illnesses out there plus COVID. And
don't forget in Florida, you got hurricane season coming in, which is going to make a whole new logistical nightmare for trying to not gather yet having to cram 10,000 people into a school gymnasium when the hurricane hits the coast. So
to Richard's point on earlier about global climate change, perhaps lack of cars, lack of off gases, lack of production, things of that nature. Maybe we see a trickle down effect to hurricanes. Who knows? You know, perhaps. Hopefully, we'll cross our fingers.
It was always nice to see those post 9/11. You know, the studies they did of air quality, how it just instantly
very
around so quick from.
They're saying that LA's had the cleanest air it's had in years because no one's out there driving. Half the people aren't driving anymore, and the smog and all that stuff's gone away. It's kind of like what they saw in Italy with the fish swimming back in Venice because the boats aren't moving, so they like the fish actually came back. And I'm sure there'll be some very small positives from a lot of what's going on. But
living in southern Indiana, I take for granted how clean my air is compared to other places.
Yeah.
Because I had to drive to Chicago for something. I'm like, the sky's brown and shit here.
Yeah.
And like I live where it's blue.
We got so much trees and natural vegetation that when I go travel to Indianapolis and Chicago and New York, it's like, oh my God. It's like gray. It's gray here. It's blue where I live.
When I said I'm going to bed.
Hey, look at that big almost teenager. You remember her when she was like a kid.
I've had Subway sandwiches with her before. A nice shirt.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to point out. I got her that as a sleep shirt a while ago.
Yeah. So you have good taste.
Yeah. He says you have good taste. Pete likes Jaws as much as we do. Or even more so. It's the COVID!
32 days. 32 days of this shit.
52 years old, but 47 of those were spent in Hendricks County. I'm a Brownsburg Bulldog just outside of the Indianapolis 500. I heard you say Southern Indy.
Southern Indiana. I live in Seymour, which is
Seymour.
Right between Indianapolis and Louisville, Kentucky. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Middle of nowhere. John Mellencamp's small town there. That's our claim to fame here.
Yeah. John's place there on the lake.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go to bed so I can get up and come back and sit at my game table for 8 hours tomorrow to work. So.
Me too, but I'm right there with you. Good to see you, Keith.
Yeah. Talk to you guys later.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Well,
on that global warming, climate change situation, we recall the El Nino and La Nina, and that was a Pacific warming on a cyclical basis. And if we remove contaminants from the air that create some of those warmings, Richard, then perhaps we do see a different shift climate-wise very quickly, and that could be enough for the light bulb to go off for others to say, hey, maybe there is something there that we need to pay attention to. Who knows?
Yeah. What I do worry about, though, is that once these quarantines and stuff end, that people will be so frantic to get out of their house that it's just going to spike right back up as everybody and their brother is getting out at the same time and wanting to drive around and travel and go do stuff. Maybe not. Maybe the fear of this will slow people's minds on getting out and going and doing things. You know, it's definitely possible. If Gen Con did happen, there's a chance that it would be like a third, back to like 20,000 people because of the fear of going to something like that. So, I mean, the long-term ramifications of what are going to happen from all of this, we won't really know. It's going to go one of two ways. It's either things will change and you'll see a lot less mass numbers at big events and sporting events and all that stuff, or people will be so deprived and not care that they'll just go right back to business as usual. And
it's not only that, Pete. I think the world's going to go back to business as usual, but it's the factories. They're going to start pumping all that shit back into the air because in China, because people are getting over it, and there's a demand now that people are stuck in their house. It's not only people moving around; it's the factories that pour all that shit in there, and the cruise ships that dump all that pollution, and the planes.
Yeah, the cruise ship industry certainly isn't immune historically from picking up bugs here or there as they go through the channels where they've dumped all of their stuff, their toilet waters and things like that out into the oceans, and then lo and behold, the next ship goes through there and picks up some sort of bug. So they're certainly not immune.
Yeah.
Before all this,
I wonder if, like we were talking about the Spanish flu, I wonder if people were better off because they weren't as exposed to other people.
The travel was a lot less. I mean, you're talking 100 years ago, so you didn't have planes flying people in mass quantities. You didn't have big cruise ships. Well, you had ships, but probably not to the extent that we have today. There wasn't as many vehicles. There were no vehicles. Well, very few vehicles on the road. So I would imagine that the social distancing was natural back then.
Yeah.
Whereas today, it's absolutely not. So,
and if you look at the Spanish flu, they had millions of deaths.
Yeah, even with all that.
Exactly, with the less travel. If they had our travel of today, we would have, it could have been
Of course, a lot of people didn't even know about it until it had already hit them because there wasn't the internet and stuff either to get the word out. Yep. So it's hard to say how it would have happened in today's times because you can react much quicker now, but also you're put in more jeopardy now because of the ease of travel and stuff. So it's kind of hard to say what would have happened. It's interesting to see, like, if there's programs that are simulating what would have happened in today's climate versus 100 years ago. What would the numbers have been? Would it have been less? Was medicine and technology so much better now that we can combat it, or would it have been worse because it's so easy to get around and whatnot?
Earlier, you said something about Richard said something about a bat and an octopus, right? So we end up with COVID-20 and then COVID-21, and I don't think this really gets to the end once we break the back of COVID-19. But I hope that we can come away with industry lessons and world lessons that just have to change things. That we got to that brink. And
I think the stockpile situation and the response times will be much different when this happens again.
Yeah,
and it's just when, it's not if.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's no one knows how this thing's going to mutate, and they're saying people have gotten it more than once, so it means you're not immune. You will get it again if you're not careful. So. Oh man, that's hot.
So did I miss anybody played any new games? I seem to always miss that.
No, there's nothing to report. I think Lance said he's been playing a little Roll20 on the computer, but the rest of us haven't played games in over a month.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I haven't played a game since Toy Fair.
No, Lance.
See, there's like the Roll20. Like that's the map that they're on right now. Scheduled to play tomorrow night again. It's gonna be awesome.
Hello, Jason.
Hello. What's happening?
Not much, man. Thanks for that pick earlier. I appreciate it.
I just wanted to see you crack up. I want to see you lose it on in front of the world, fella.
Brenzor's dead, baby.
Yeah. Well, I feel it today, my friend.
How's going on? Homeschooling going with the kiddos?
Well, it's good being a second grade full-fledged teacher. That's a lot of fun, having never ever trained for it a single day in our lives.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
I don't know. It's all right. We're locked in. We're doing our bit. We're doing our part, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I read a thing about how carry the one, classic math that we all learned. Kids will go back to school. They'll have our math. That new math.
No, they've got this whole zero thing now that they do that they don't touch that. I was like, I'm trying to show my daughter how to do this. She's like, Daddy, that's not how it's done. And she did it faster and more accurate than I did. I'm like, all right, why am I helping you? You should be helping me. Crazy. Crazy.
Where did this come from, though? Is this from
I
another
don't know.
country or just?
I'm not
They've been
sure.
doing math the same way for thousands of years.
I don't know. Someone figured out a faster, more accurate way of doing it. It's all news to me. Like I said, I have been out of school for 30, almost 30 years. So, I mean,
I was under the impression it's the great equalizer, which I thought math was already, because, it's kind of finite, but I was under the impression that it was the equalizer to put everybody who's learning at the same time, at the same pace across the country, for what it's worth.
Okay.
But to me, again, it's math. It's kind of already cut and dry. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, it might be good. We never know. I'm sure if you talk to somebody back in the 1400s and ask them what they thought about somebody from like 200 BC, they'd be God, they're idiots, like we're doing now.
Yeah, times are changing.
So nobody's played any games. I mean, my daughter and I have been playing games. We've been playing like Shards of Infinity, and
I played Scrabble with my wife last week. I played Sugar Blast with my daughter this week. That's it. Other than that, it's been just work and schoolwork, and we played some video games, but no board games. This just
running the campaign, so we have to create new graphics pretty much on a daily basis for your updates and things like that. You go through, you cook through them pretty fast, and so every evening it's sit down, conceptualize a new graphic for an update, and by the time I'm done, it's 2 or 3 in the morning. And social distancing, she's not a super big gamer, and so we don't get the opportunity too much. Gives me focus time on the Kickstarter and focus time on the next projects, but no gameplay per se.
So I just got a box in the mail the other day, and it contained 3 titles: Roll For It, Sanctum, and Wonder Woman.
I heard the Roll For It story. Wonder Woman is a great game if you haven't played it. I like that one a lot.
Yeah. And I mean, the dichotomy between Roll For It and Sanctum just kind of speaks for itself.
Sanctum from Czech Games, the kind of Diablo style game.
That's the one.
I got
Under
it.
what circumstances are you getting those 3 games?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Under what circumstances are you getting those 3 games in the same box?
Oh my God, that's a great question. I wanted to see how diametrically opposed every game could be in one box. Actually, one of them was Wonder Woman was a birthday gift for my lovely wife for yesterday. And because, every girl's a Wonder Woman fan, she's no exception. So there you go. Roll For It because I don't know. I just felt like I needed to drink the Kool-Aid after all these years and actually own that game because I feel stupid not owning it. And then Sanctum because I wanted to play. I got tired of playing Diablo on my Switch. I want to play it on my table.
All right, makes so much sense.
I really enjoyed the leveling up, like the first 75% of Sanctum, and it just kind of it's like the finale of the song and the guy with the 2 symbols they miss. It just like it was
Really?
it was but the
Great.
build up was great. I mean, the build up and leveling up and getting all the equipment and stuff like that's really fun.
Just pissed all over his Cheerios. He didn't even open the box.
I didn't even. It's Barry. It's not even open yet. He's right.
Obviously,
the plastic is still on it.
There's lots of people. Well, good, you can trade it for something else. But I mean, no. Lots of people love it, though, right? Just because I didn't like it,
I've heard
mean
good things about it. I haven't played it yet, but it's sitting right over there.
Yeah.
With everything else I've gotten a ton of stuff. Gotten a lot of deliveries over the last couple months. Haven't played a shit.
Well, don't play shit. Play good stuff. Other than that, man, I mean, it just nobody's like planning on getting divorced or anything like that because you spent too much time with your wife.
No. Me and my wife have always worked from home for the last 7 years, so we're very used to this. What's getting to us is just the not getting out as much. Like we go to the grocery store once every 2 weeks, and maybe take the dogs for a little walk in the neighborhood as long as there's not a lot of people outside. But it's more the cabin fever. We're used to working together, and I work in the basement. She works upstairs. So we get our separation each day. So we're not on top of each other all day long, getting in each other's way, but not getting out to like go to my weekly game night or to go hang out at my friend's house and work on game design stuff. Or that's what's really getting to me. It's like, I'm used to these 4 walls for 8 hours a day, but not 18 hours a day. So that's where it's getting a little bit, I'm getting a little cabin fever. But we're fine because we're used to it. Just probably like Richard is as well, because you and Jen have been home together for years, right? I mean, neither one of you has like a normal day job so I mean, like I don't see being issues, like that. It's just the freedom to just get up and grab my keys and go run down to the game store for 3 or 4 hours to blow an afternoon. That's gone, and that's where I get a little itchy to get out.
That's the last game I got. I think it's been about 2 weeks ago. I got a shrink wrapped copy of Buck Rogers in the 25th century from
the old school one,
the cool one, the one from TRS, shrink wrapped, unopened.
Where did
TSR?
Where'd you find that?
TSR. Found it on eBay. $100. Shrink wrap.
Was it signed by Wilma Deering?
No.
Damn it!
Look at you pulling that out of nowhere.
I know, that was pretty impressive. Actually, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah, that was just pulling that name out of whatever hidey hole it was sitting. Well done.
Mm-hmm.
I like that old thing. I remember when you were a kid and you thought like robots were gonna be like a real thing, like
Right.
Hello, how are you? Just like you watch like Rocky IV and they bought a robot for his
Happy
buddy or
birthday,
whatever.
Polly!
Yeah,
Happy birthday, Polly.
and you thought that was gonna happen. No.
Yeah.
The Jetsons and the flying car, we're still not there. We talked earlier about the self-driving cars, but even the flying car Jetsons or the little robot to clean your house. I need one of those right now.
I don't think you could have the opening of the Jetsons like with the wife stealing the money anymore. I don't think that would fly in today's day and age.
No, in today's day and age, she'd have her own credit card, so she wouldn't need to take the money.
She would need her. She'd have her own money, which is right. I mean, so it is weird that we're totally it's like the world that my kids are gonna grow up in is gonna be nothing like anything that I grew up in.
For better or worse.
No, I think it's mostly for the better. I've said this to a lot of people. I think that like the way we even approach school is going to be completely and totally changed. I mean, there's going to be all these people that are like, they're going to decide. I'm not going to. Why am I sending my kids to school? I mean, they're going to see some of the lesson plans that the kids have. They're going to be like, this is so basic. You're like waste. I mean, my son, he gets his lesson plan. He blows through it in like 45 minutes and he's done. Like today I was like working and he kept coming downstairs and he was just kind of like running in place. And I was just like, what are you doing? And he's like, I don't have any clean pants, so I can't go outside and run with the dog. So I'm jogging around the house for my gym. Okay, go for it, buddy. But yeah, he was just, but I mean, yeah, he was done with all of his schoolwork. Just, I'm done. And I'm looking at his math and it's like, what is 17 minus 7? I was like, you're in second grade. Why? This is not what you should be learning. You should be learning more or something. There should be something way more than what you're doing here. And I think that's like, I think there's gonna be a lot of parents who are just gonna be like, good Lord, I can't believe I'm paying you money. I can't believe I'm paying school fees and stuff for this stuff when you're barely doing the job. I don't know. It's I definitely, I don't know what the right answer is. I just know that my son could definitely be tested a little bit more than he's being tested right now.
I imagine your parents felt the same way if they ever stumbled across what you were studying in school too.
Well,
right?
my mom was such a cheat though. She would always like, because she was always the woman that came into class to like help out, because she was a stay-at-home mom, a teacher assistant thing. And so like, remember you do like there would be the 100 problems on the like 100 addition problems. You had to get through it and you had to answer them all. Like it was like 5 minutes or 4 minutes, but you had to be 2 + 2 is 4 and things like that. So like she asked the teacher if she could like get have copies so I could practice it at home. And she was like, yeah, I mean, that's fine. And well, then, my stepdad worked in an office, so she would make photocopies of them. And she would sit there and she'd time me at home to make sure that I get them all done. Well, what she didn't realize was that much like if you do the same thing over and over again, like you do it again and you do it again and you do it again, I had the first 25 numbers memorized without even having to do it was like 2, 4, 8, 6, 4, 2, 10, 6, because I would just fill it out because I'd done the order exactly as she even made flashcards that actually had the exact same order as the test. So I wasn't learning addition. I was just learning to memorize numbers as I rattled through. But
nice.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, it's just like whenever they, like there were 3 of us, me, David Brindison, and Chris Lehman. We were the ones that got done with all of the tests faster than anybody else, and we got a special prize. So whenever that test came up, we didn't have to take them anymore because it went addition, then subtraction, then addition and subtraction combined, and then it was multiplication, division, and then it was multiplication, division combined, and then the final test was all of it combined. And it was 100 questions, and you had to finish the test in like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or something. Yeah, I don't remember what it was, but I remember we would just sit there, go through them all, and just get them done. I would do it over and over again so many times that I do remember though there was
Scantrons, right? Remember
yeah. I do remember though there was because there was like 100 questions, or it was only 50. I don't know. Weird stuff, but it's one of those things where I got to the last question, but they said time, and I remember I wanted to like answer the last question. I really wanted to do it, but I didn't do it. I was like, all right, I didn't get through them all. I turned it in, and then the next day, Mrs. Kingsbury, my second grade teacher, she gave me a special award because she actually saw me think about answering the last question and writing it down, and I didn't, and I turned it in, and she like said, that I was because it would have been so easy for me to give in to the temptation and cheat, but I didn't do it, and I got like a special award that day for not cheating on the last thing. I was just like, she was, and they're like, let's give him a round of applause, and I'm sure everyone was like, what a. And then I told my older brother about it. He goes, yeah, I would have put the last one in. He's just like, I totally would have cheated. I was like, yeah, I know, but that's my brother. So anyway, what's I don't know. What do you guys want to talk about? I mean, we usually talk about movies or something.
No one's seeing anything. We talk about Tiger King, I guess. I mean,
let me ask you something. All right, you bring that up. Let me ask you this. I don't know what is wrong with me as a human being that I cannot front $19.99 to rent a movie when it's going to cost me $89 to go see it in the movie theater. What is wrong with me?
Because you don't get to keep it. We're so used to the idea if I'm giving you my money.
But I don't get to keep it if I go to the theater and spend $100 just to walk through the door.
But it's the perception. When you're used to doing a digital download, you're used to owning the rights.
$4 or $5.
Yeah.
No, it's not even that. Because like you go on like Amazon or Apple or whatever medium you might use, and to rent a movie that's new, it'd be like $4.99, $3.99, whatever it is. You're not owning it. You're renting it for $4. But I mean, if it's a movie that's in the theater right now, for example, I want to watch The Hunt. I want to watch what the hell, Invisible Man. There's like 3 other films that are now, which I think is a great concept, and I'm shocked that it hasn't happened years ago. It took a pandemic for like movies from the theater to come to home. But why can I not spend $20?
I wouldn't. The way I see it is, these movies aren't going to last long in the digital download form before they have Blu-rays or are selling them on streaming services. Yeah. So why pay $20 now when I can wait like 2 months and then own it forever and not have to watch it in a 3 or 4 day period?
Well, I don't
to the theater to be the same thing. I mean, you want to see, the latest Star Wars movie in the theater. You spent probably $100 there with your kid, easy. It's the same thing. It's just
Except longer, because usually when it's in theaters, it takes 4, 5, maybe 6 months to come out on DVD, Blu-ray.
They're like 3 months, depending on
these movies now. I bet you will be out by the end of summer. All of the movies that are being released digital download now are going to be available. I'm actually surprised they didn't do it with Black Widow. I was actually disappointed. I would have probably paid $20 to see Black Widow at home in my theater versus at a regular movie theater for that, because that's a movie I wouldn't want to wait even a month or two on. But
they want
we
that
have AMC
mark. They won't get that with $19 at home.
Mm-hmm.
We have that AMC movie pass deal where you can go to the theater, and when they were open, right?
Oh, unlimited movies.
Yeah, it's three movies a week, which feels unlimited. You can't eat 3 movies a week every week. We very rarely would exceed the need to go see 3 movies in a week. But it's all first release stuff, right? It comes out today. I go watch it today, not only on the big screen, but a Dolby or in 3D. There was no restrictions with the AMC, and that was $20 a person. So her and I, it's $20 each. And you go to a 3D movie, then that's an easy $15, $17 right there at a clip. So you've already recovered your money if you see one other film for the entire month. And so we'd see movies. We'd see 1 movie a week, if not 2, every week for months and months and months. Every movie on the award show, we've seen them all. So
I wonder how they're going to handle all that now. I wonder if they're going to have to prorate or extend your terms because
they turned it off. They
turned it off.
Yeah, AMC. If you look at its Movie Pass, the Movie Pass, they said that the AMC app says we're not charging you at all while we're closed. And so, because that was my concern too. I'm like, hey, it's $20, but it's still $20 plus hers is another $20. But they've turned it off right now.
Well, how's this going to affect like the movie theaters, let alone the industry itself? But some of these smaller theaters are going to go.
Why do you think we passed that $2 trillion bill? I mean, that's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, big things like Marcus Theaters, which is like all of the movie theaters in our area, and like in Minnesota, South Dakota, North Dakota. I think, you know, they're all over in the upper Midwest. Hey, they're not bringing any money in right now. Yeah. I mean, they basically had to fire all their employees. I mean, I don't know. It's just, what do you do? I mean, I don't know. Nobody's going anywhere.
Businesses that don't recover. I believe on the bill that one of the purposes was to maintain your employees
in order to get the loans. They get the loans that are forgivable only if they retain 100% of their employees.
Correct. And so by having that occur, it is less stress on the system in terms of how we go about paying people in an unemployment situation. So the government can save a few dollars by not having to process through unemployment.
Doesn't matter.
Regard.
They still had record numbers of people filling out unemployment. Yep. I think what the reason for that was that there were people that looked at what the unemployment was with that $600 a week bonus, and were like, go ahead and lay me off because it's more money than I'm making working, and they'd rather get that than the other. Because there's, I mean, for some people, unemployment plus $600 a week is going to be far more than they make. So I imagine that's going to make it really hard for people that maybe were going to be unemployed to want to stick around and get their normal pay when they could be at home safe getting more.
As an employer, do I ask for those people to resign? Because that affects me and my recoverable ability on that loan versus grant situation. If I maintained my employees, I was able to then treat that loan as a non-recoverable grant. Mm-hmm. If I laid my employees off, then I have to pay that money back. And I think there'd be a situation there where you have to manage that accordingly. And also when you start to hire your employees back or bring your employees back, there's going to be some ramifications there as well. Who worked within the system and who didn't, who worked well at home, who was spending their 8 hours at work and not 8 hours playing with the kids, even though they were at home. All of that will drill down and play into the new work environment when this is all over.
Yeah. So, no, and it's just like you said, we are entering bold new territory. I mean, It's, none of us have any clue. Well, I mean, we used to do this with Aldi on here, but how long do you think all of us are going to be at home? I mean, like before there is something official. I mean, it's just guess, and
no restrictions, like free to do whatever you want, back to normal.
Like let's say, just like people get to go back to work. There doesn't have to be an essential workplace. I mean, like you can go back, like businesses can reopen. I mean, there's no way my kids are going back to school this year. I mean, that's just not going to happen.
Here in Arizona, where it's going to be 110 degrees in 6 weeks, and it'll be 120 degrees in 2 months. If there were interstate restrictions for exterior travel, the heat and the ability to kill it off here, I think we could go back to work. But it's going to take 100% restriction to be able to break its back before we could ever do that. And then you can't have people coming in, because the more people that come in, it perpetuates the situation. It never ends at that point. So to answer your question, dude, it may be months. It may be 2 months, 3 months.
And here's the other question: how soon before people actually are going to want to go out and risk? Like
25 years before I leave my house. Yeah, my mortgage will be paid off before I leave.
I've already told my wife that I think that until the vaccine is out and readily available, we're not going to have 100% non-restrictions in this country at all.
Yeah. Oh, and I told my wife the last time I finally went out and got groceries, I said, from now on, we're just getting them delivered. I said, I see how stupid people are being now. It's like, just going out with a gun that might go off in my lap.
And that's exactly why. Because everyone kept saying, oh, well, China's getting better. Well, China also made sure that everyone was following the procedures, and they were quarantining, and they were street sweeping, and they were detoxifying public property and stuff. That will never happen here. It'll never happen here. And because of that, it's going to last a lot longer.
Because it's America.
Because it's America, and we don't have the leadership that they do, good or bad. So it's going to be a lot longer, which is why when I keep seeing these posts about, oh yeah, check, this is what we're doing at Origins, I'm like, no, you're not. no, you're not.
So you most certainly are not.
I heard somebody mention San Diego Comic-Con when I was behind the scenes earlier.
Yeah.
So I do live in San Diego, if you weren't aware of that. And let me tell you what's going on over here in the convention center that houses Comic-Con. As of today, it's turned into a homeless shelter. Mm-hmm. So
really? That's awesome.
It's really cool that they're doing that, because there are a lot of homeless in San Diego.
Right. The weather's great all year round. They don't freeze to death.
Well, of course. I mean, I'm one step. All I got to do is go outside and sleep on the sidewalk, and it's fine. It's why not?
You'd fit right in.
I would, really. I've been mistaken many times. But the fact is, if they have 10,000 homeless people living in the convention center in what are we in? April 1st? And this show is in July. Yeah. Lance, is your mom listening tonight?
No, I don't believe so. Because
fucking way.
If she didn't call me when I was talking about how she was driving me crazy earlier today,
she's probably safe to say she's not. But yeah, I don't see how. And if Comic-Con's not happening, and that's the week before Gen Con,
right?
Can't imagine if Comic-Con cancels and Origins cancels, that Gen Con would think that it would be fine for them to go ahead and run that show in Indianapolis.
I'm going to tell you right now, Comic-Con is not happening. It's just there's no way they can get all these people in, somehow treat people, and that's assuming there's a vaccine in the next few months, right? Which then has to be available scale-wise to treat everybody on the globe. I mean, there's no way. And it's silly to think, and Lance, you mentioned it earlier, right now it's a game of chicken with these organizations that either have to pull out and lose money, or they're waiting for the convention center that they're housing their show in to say we can't do it, and then they can say, cool, we can cancel. That's all that's going on.
Or
Right
insurance reasons if they've insured the show. They're waiting for the deadline where they can legally collect
now. Oh,
insurance.
come on, Pete. Who gets travel insurance? Come on.
I think it's going to be a year.
I don't disagree.
Indianapolis 500 moved from Memorial Day weekend to late August. So after Gen Con, that's 400,000 people.
And that's not even guaranteed a happening then. That's just their postponed date, which could get pushed back even further.
And it's outdoors, right? It's outdoors. You get all that stuff. The baseball thinking that, well, maybe because our sport is outdoors, we can maybe return to play a little sooner. Yeah, and you're right. That's just a projection.
I find it funny when they're talking about baseball just delaying the opening pitch for a month or two. I'm worried that football season may not even happen until next year.
Oh, football's it's got maybe a 1 in 4 shot of happening.
Yeah, and that's only because it starts so late in the year. It doesn't start until September, and it's doubtful that they're going to be able to put 70,000 people in the stands.
Let's say they said, we think it's reasonably safe. Would you want to go and sit in the stands right now in September? Would you have? I mean, unless they showed me people being injected with the virus after they got the vaccine and them not dying, I would still say, you know what, I'll watch from here.
I would imagine that if Gen Con were to try to happen,
it's not
that it would be a very not Gen Con like convention, and I would certainly fight to not go. I wouldn't want to go.
I would. I mean, and that's one cool thing about Shane is he's just basically said, look, he's like, it was wrong for us to have gone to Gamma. I feel bad that we were there. Yeah. And,
understandable at the time, though. I mean,
yeah, it wasn't as bad. I mean, even my boss said if we had known what we'd known a week earlier, we would have pulled out. But at the time he sent us, it wasn't an issue here yet.
The balloons
just starting.
The balloons certainly didn't help at Gamma.
That guy.
Balloons.
Well, if you are a Gamma member, the emails that you've gotten from Gamma have been very good. They definitely are in full cover our ass mode. Just like if you attended Gamma, we want to make sure that you were safe and this, that, and the other thing, and it's just like
we're sorry the balloons spit on you from the sky.
Well, like Chandler said, the guy who designed Big City, Big Shoulders City or whatever, he said, even if there wasn't COVID going on, do you think I'd want to eat with a bunch of people spit and balloons flying everywhere? I wouldn't want to. Just like, what world would I live in that would be okay? Then I would be totally fine with the fact that you just spit all over my food. Yeah, we are. I mean, seriously, Aldi's not here, but I mean, I think he'd agree. I bet you there isn't even a BGG con. I mean, and that's November. I mean, we're talking Essen time, and I don't think it'll happen.
Yeah, BGG and PAX Unplugged are on the same weekend.
Yeah, again, which is
I can't imagine. I just can't imagine any of that happening. I just can't.
And that's just it. I mean, it's like everybody's talking about. It's weird. It's weird not having baseball on right now. I love watching baseball. I'm weird. Just like a lot of people say baseball is boring. There is nothing better in my mind than like just having a baseball game on the radio in the background while I do my work or while I'm just kind of like relaxing and whatever. I love it. I love listening to it. That's some of my best memories of my childhood are driving around in a car with either my grandpa or my dad listening to a Twins game on the radio. And it's just weird just not to have baseball.
It's weird. You know what, Lance, to dovetail on that, every year I buy MLB The Show. Every single year. I have for I don't know how many years, since it was a PS3 title, I guess.
Yeah.
I bought it every single year. This year I didn't buy it because I'm like, I just don't feel it. It doesn't feel right. Nothing. I'm not in the mood. I'm just like, I like that hot, afternoon on like a Saturday, firing it up and playing a baseball game or whatever. And I just didn't do it this year because I'm not feeling it at all.
See, I got it because I'm the same as you. I was like, because I figured this is the only baseball I'm going to get You know, just like
yeah, probably baseball may happen, and we may be seeing the NFL playing on Madden this year. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, but
We've got
well,
spring
did you
training.
see if you have PlayStation, they just had their big they just announced a giant spring sale, like basically Trapped at Home. Here's a bunch of like even like really fairly new release titles, and they're like 50% off.
yeah, it would. So I'm surprised Steam hasn't done it. I haven't seen any major big like usually their sales are pretty ginormous, like the winter sale and the summer sale. I'm surprised they didn't do the summer sale early to catch all these people at home right now, because I'm sure a big sale like that would go gangbusters right now, because people are dying for stuff to do that can entertain them. And
didn't GameStop position themselves as a
essential
critical service? Yeah, essential services. So they didn't have to close their GameStop
oh my
store.
god, they shut ours down. They actually went and took their business license from them and made them close.
Wow.
Yeah, there was an article in the paper about it. It wasn't in my town, but it was in like Columbia or something, that they were saying they were essential and staying open, and there was a bunch of gamers hanging out the store, and they were above the 10 people limit that they were mandating for the state, and they told them that they had to disperse, and they said no, we're essential. And they went back and pulled their business license, put a note on their door saying you cannot open.
I would just like to know how the owners of that store are able to walk with those giant balls that they have. Yeah, just because we're an essential service. So, well, I suppose. I mean, GameStops are dying. So, I mean,
they're closing 300 more after they closed 300 last year. They need to close about 300 more than that, only because there's like literally I could count 5 GameStops within a 20-minute drive of my house, and there only needs to be maybe 1 or 2 in our small town. I can't imagine like New York. There's probably 1 every 3 blocks. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there's 1 in a mall and there's 1 in a strip mall in this town, and other than that, it's just not a thing.
They're publicly traded. I can only imagine how that stock's going to do.
Yeah.
Not good.
Not well would be the answer.
Yeah, not well is my guess.
Does anybody think once this vaccine happens, which apparently a company, a scientific little group in the Bay Area may have found something, does anybody think that like once this thing goes widespread, it's kind of just going to be like I Am Legend? Like we're just all
pretty sweet.
Would it be?
Well, I mean, to watch from afar from my bunker,
Well, assuming you're the guy that is like watching from the bunker and not the little vampire community folk.
Oh yes. Well, they're a good community.
Well, in the extended director's cut, it actually showed that they were a pretty close knit group, and they were just looking out for their own. And Johnny No Effect, he was just kind of he was the kind of the dick of the movie, to be fair.
Yeah,
he was hunting them, and he shouldn't have been.
Well, that's the trick, right?
I guess. Well, that's what happens when you're a bad boy, I suppose. I don't know.
I think this will be a continuous thing. Like Pete was saying, someone had N1H1. We got the anti-vaxxers in this country, and then we got people that don't vaccinate in other countries. It's
it'll probably never truly be gone. All we can do is mitigate it down to a very, very minuscule number.
Yeah.
I think the movie theaters are going to slowly. I mean, they're already slowly becoming a thing of the past, right? Because of the fact
like drive-ins. Digital will remove the theater, unfortunately, just like drive-ins got moved out by movie theaters.
Yeah.
If you drive far enough south in my town, if you drive far enough south in my town, you can drive by the ruins of the Moonlight Theater, which was the drive-in theater in town. Like really? Some of the posts are still there. About half of the screen is still there. It's pretty cool. It's nice. Because I remember going there with my dad and watching movies at the Moonlight. That was I mean, just
I saw Jaws for the first time at a drive-in movie theater.
I can remember being on a trip with my parents and somewhere, somewhere in one of the southern states, and I was sitting in the hotel, and I looked out the window, and like basically across the street was a drive-in, and I could see the screen, and I couldn't hear the noise obviously, but they had Star Wars on, and I just sat there and watched it because I'd seen Star Wars so many times, and I was just like, oh. I mean, like my memory, I can remember seeing the Cantina and Greedo and Han Solo. I mean, that's like, I remember just sitting in the chair and watching a movie silently, just because I knew how the whole movie went.
Could you tell who fired first? Could you see who fired first?
Well, that's still the old school.
In the drive-in digital deluxe version.
I have a buddy actually, Van Overbay. He's a game designer. He's got the original laser discs, like collector's edition or whatever, that actually have like all the original footage, and he's making me a digital copy. He's turning them into digital, and he's gonna send those to me. I'm like, that'll be awesome, because it'll be like the old school ones
before they retouched them up.
Before they retouched them up. I mean, the fact that Han shoots first, all those things.
Well, in like 2004, Best Buy had a 3-disc DVD set that came in a tin, but it was a Best Buy exclusive, and it was the original theatrical cuts. I have them in my drawer right now. It's the regular theater cuts, no special editions on DVD. They're not Blu-ray.
There, buddy. Jeez.
What's that?
Way to piss all over my story with your cool.
I mean, I don't know. I had a Laserdisc player too, and I had them. I don't know, whatever. Laserdisc, they were great.
I remember the Laserdisc. I remember the Laserdisc version of Return of the Jedi, because the movie was so long. It was on 2 Laserdiscs, and so like the last 35 minutes of Jedi was on the second Laserdisc, or on the other side of the Laserdisc or whatever. And because it was on that side, you could do the stop motion click, 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 click. And so we stopped it during the giant space battle, where they're fighting around the new Death Star. I remember we were slowly advancing frame by frame to kind of look and see, the moments of the things moving around and whatever. I mean, we were digging it. It was, but
do you remember having to flip laser discs?
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, you gotta wait till you jump to light speed. So then you're jumping to light speed. You can go flip your laser disc and then come back and start it back up. And it just took a little longer to jump.
Boy, I wish I can go. I wish I can go back in time to 1994 and that exactly. Tell stupid ass me not to drop $1,000 on the Pioneer Laserdisc player that had the little camera that rotated on an arm, so you didn't have to flip your discs. Boy, oh boy, I wish I had that $1,000 back.
That'd be $3 million in today's money.
It really would be. It'd be $17 million. Yes.
Yes, it would. Yeah.
So speaking of tech, what do you think about a new PlayStation and new Xbox both coming out at the end of this year, with the way things are going right now and what the economy will be like at the end of the year? You think they push those systems back, or do you think
they have to? I don't think they can produce them.
Sony's saying they're not. They're saying holiday.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, both of them are saying. Now they are saying they're going to be scarce because obviously production is ramped down. Mm-hmm. But they're saying they're gonna push them out. I mean, they got
$500 console. In this economy, it's scary. I can't imagine that they're gonna.
There are some things that are bulletproof, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
And I think the new consoles, it's bulletproof. I mean, agree. They won't sell as much as they would have, but they'll still sell. I mean,
totally agree.
It's I mean, look at look at Frosthaven. I mean, that's bulletproof.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Who thought $5 million or $4 million in day one? Right now,
yeah, I would.
Amazing.
I have an active campaign.
I know we've got one coming April 14th on Kickstarter. So that's our biggest release of the year. So it'll be interesting to see.
It's got to give you hope. If he doesn't suck all the air out of the room, it's got to give you hope that at least right now people aren't afraid to go out there and still spend money on Kickstarter. Which is good for everybody.
Well, that's what my boss said. I mean, he said, I mentioned it to him, and he was just like, no, I'm glad they're making money because that means there's still money out there. You know,
I did an update yesterday or this morning, like 3 a.m, and I opened my update by congratulating Frosthaven and congratulating those guys on such a fantastic launch. Amazing.
Yeah,
that doesn't surprise me though. Not with that game.
Yeah, that system is just an anomaly. I mean, it's just breaking all kinds of records.
I take nothing away from what Isaac has made, but and I've said this, and it's obvious I am in the severe minority here, and I agree. But there is a group of friends of mine. They get together every week on Tuesday night, and they've been playing Gloomhaven and like basically going through all of it, right? Just working their way through everything.
All 1,000 missions or whatever.
Yeah. And the thing is, whenever I've gone over there, for whatever reason, like one time I went over to stop over because like some guy had like bought some games for me, and I was like, I'm in the neighborhood, I'll drop them off, kind of thing. Every single time, it's 4 guys sitting around a table, and all of them are just super quiet, just looking at their own cards, and like they're just sitting there. And then finally, somebody goes, puts a card down, moves something, and they all kind of nod. Then they go back and they're looking through the cards, and I was just like, whoa. I was like,
the excitement is palpable.
I have never played a single moment of this, and I don't think I ever want to. I mean, and they're like, "Oh no, this is great." And I'm sure, and I'm sure that probably isn't even like really how it is. You know what? I mean, it's probably like there's probably more to it than that, to the nth degree. But I mean, like that is what I have experienced and what I've seen. So.
Yeah, it wasn't a game that attracted me either. I mean, it's beautiful, amazing production quality. I mean, they give you a ton of stuff, even though it's a high price tag. You get a ton of stuff with it. But I mean, I looked through it and looked at it, and it just was like, it just didn't pull me. And I'm like, well, I'm the 1 out of 100 that doesn't like this game or doesn't think this game is amazing.
It's like me not liking Pandemic. I know I'm in the severe minority. I mean, just that but that just wasn't my bag, wasn't my jam. So.
I like the engine of Pandemic. I don't necessarily like Pandemic itself, but that engine has been used in other games that I've really liked it in. So I may like Pandemic. I've never played Pandemic, but I've watched it played enough times, and I guess for me the theme wasn't there. So, but I like that mechanism of the spreading.
Lanius, Defenders of the Realm.
Yeah, that's the one that introduced me to the Pandemic mechanic. Was Defenders of the Realm. I love that game. Defenders of the Realm, Defenders of the Last Stand. I like both of those games. They use that same mechanic.
Last Stand is super good. I really like that.
He's got another game coming out, maybe this year, maybe next year, that uses that mechanic as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's good stuff. Highly enjoyable in this one fella's opinion. But I mean, it's just I called up my one of my game stores that I love, that the guy who's been buying all my games off me and stuff, like he's most likely not even going to reopen his store because he's just gone to strict e-commerce, and he said, I'm making more money, and why should I have a store? He's like, all I need is a warehouse.
He's not alone. I'm talking to retailers every day, and 20% of the phone calls are, I don't know if we're going to open back up, that this may be it. This may have been the straw that broke the back of them, like stores that maybe have been on the fringe of deciding whether they can afford to stay open or not. This is going to destroy them. So
they make their money from the play, right? From people coming in, renting tables for a few hours, or buying soda and candy and spending an evening in the store.
And impulse buying. You can't impulse buy if you can't walk the shelves. A lot of people buy by looking and walking around. If they don't know what they want, then they just don't buy anything. But if they come into the store and are walking around, just maybe trying to see if anything looked good, that's when you get those impulse purchases. They're losing all those. So the stores that were barely making it aren't coming back. And only the strong ones that bank money and invest wisely and maybe started, reacting quicker to curbside and delivery and all that stuff. The ones that waited too late in the game and are like, oh, we better start curbsiding. Well, it's too late now. I mean, you missed that window. If you had to get in on it real early and get your customers used to it so that they'll keep spending, it's going to be rough. The landscape's changing a lot. I keep saying 20% is what I think the attrition rate for small publisher and retail will be. That's my best guess based on what I'm seeing.
So, and this is kind of a response to what Richard said earlier. I mean, maybe this is all for the better. I mean, honestly, I mean, and it's like, and maybe this is, because I was just kind of rolling in my head here. I mean, if this goes on for 2 months or 3 months, I mean, first of all, I find it really weird that, like, you know, China's reporting, oh, hey, things are way better now or whatever because of the lockdown and all these things they're doing. But then for every single time you see people that are saying, oh, that's better than the people saying, oh, I don't trust the China numbers anyway. I mean, it seems like people are just going with whatever statement fits with them the best, right? I mean, it's just like, you know, they're just modifying the information they're getting to fuel the prerogative that they have, which, you know, that's just human nature. You just do that. But just rolling through my head. So, like, let's say life doesn't return to normal by September, and all these people that work in service industries, all these people that, like, are bartenders, that are work in a movie theater, that work as a server, work at a hotel, work at
airlines.
Airlines. There's these people that
cruise industry. Oh, keep going on and on.
Yeah, just keep going on and on. Anything where there is direct contact between a customer and a person, and there's multiple people,
libraries,
department stores, malls, like you said, museums. You know, there's all these different places where people congregate.
Theme parks.
Yeah, and I mean, how many people have the luxury of working from home? A very, very small percentage of people are able to work their job from home. You have to get up and you have to go and work at the auto manufacturing plant. You have to go and work at the service station. You have to, you have to travel. I mean, and be a salesman. Patrick Siebert, the guy who does Just Got Played, video channel, he had COVID because he's like a sales manager for JVC. He said, I went in and out of the Atlanta airport 16 times over the last month. He's like, yeah, he picked it up. I mean, it was just, he's better, and he got through it. But I was just like, and they didn't even think to test him until he was better. And then they said, well, let's just see, just in case you need to tell anybody that you've been in contact with. Oh yeah, you had it. You being really, really sick these last 7 days. Yeah, you had corona. So extrapolate that out. I mean, if these people don't work, and teachers for that matter, and they don't work until September. They don't have a job until September. I mean, how many of those restaurants, how many of those plants, how many of those places are even going to still exist at that moment? I mean, Richard might be onto something where he said maybe this is just going to be the brick that gets put on the gas pedal, where we move to a situation where the government just steps in and takes care of shit.
Well, the Star Trek economy, right? Star Trek, where no one really ever gets paid. They don't exchange credits. They just go get what they need. They go provide what they're supposed to provide to the greater good of the whole. And that's just sort of how Star Trek has always been.
Yeah. I mean, Star Trek is what's generally referred to as a post-scarcity society. In a society where you pretty much automated the production of all basic needs of humanity. There is no scarcity. There's no reason anybody ever has to be hungry or be cold or be miserable. There are still ample opportunities for people to go out into the workforce and seek whatever personal satisfaction they might get from it, but it is no longer required. I mean, our Western society is not too far away from that right now. We have automated the hell out of farming. What used to take hundreds of people can now be done by half a dozen people. And it's just going to continue going that way. So,
and we still use tractors, but those tractors are driven via satellite GPS.
Exactly.
So they know when to turn. That you don't have to sit in there and drive anymore. You just sit in there to make sure you're maintaining the tractor. It's driving itself. It's dropping seed where it needs to drop seed. It's dropping fertilizer where only it needs to drop fertilizer based on yield results from previous years. So we know that this soil's good, this soil's not so good. Let's add a little more fertilizer here. all via automation. So you're exactly on track.
Yeah, and so that is the direction society has been going. I mean, in every way, it's just going to continue. And there's two things it can lead to: what we're doing right now, which is just more and more money accumulates at the top, at the epicenter of huge multinational corporations, because the system is kind of very, very friendly towards that. Or there's another option where all that largesse gets spread amongst everybody, because nobody should have to work. And I mean, it's so hard for a lot of people to accept a future like that. I don't want my children to grow up in a world where they don't have to work. I get my dignity from work, but hey, you just got to reprogram your brain. It's not where your kids or your kids' kids will get their dignity. They will get their dignity in other ways. The people in Star Trek Future think it's laughable that, so many people, well, it's laughable and tragic that so many people have to die because there's no place for them to sleep at night and they sleep out and freeze to death. It's just absolutely absurd in such an insanely rich and largely scarcity-free society. The amount of food we throw away every day could feed all the homeless in the fucking world. It's ridiculous. And yeah, this could be a real catalyst, the same way the Great Depression led to the Great New Deal, right? Isn't that the case? I think that's the case.
Yeah.
Well,
It sparked the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I mean, the Great Depression created the circumstances under which FDR was able to pursue social programs that never would have been conceivable prior to that, because things had gotten so insanely dire. Things are about to get insanely dire. It's just a question of who will we have steering the ship.
Right.
Well, as my libertarian friend said, he said, and this is the grackles are on the back of the hairs on the back of your neck. He said, when in doubt, I will always err on the side of freedom, because once we give up freedoms, we never get them back. And that's like the other thing. He's like, look at Social Security. That wasn't supposed to last forever. Yeah, I was just like, but we need Social Security. And that turned into an hour-long debate.
Oh my God, I can imagine.
It was just, just like, yeah. But
Talk
anyway,
about having foodstuffs for everyone. What movie was it where Taco Bell was the last?
Demolition Man.
Demolition Man. Taco Bell had survived. And look what's going on right now. If you go out, Taco Bell's open. Everyone else is closed. So look how funny that.
And nobody touched and all that. I mean, Demolition Man was really
No
like
toilet paper.
No toilet paper. It was
3
way ahead of
seashells.
its time.
Way ahead of time.
Use the seashells.
It's crazy how accurate that is of what's going on right now. It's
No touching because they didn't want to spread disease. There was no toilet paper, and every restaurant is Taco Bell.
Taco Bell. That's right.
I could go for a chalupa.
The guys at Red Letter Media do a good review of Demolition Man. They surprisingly really enjoyed the movie, and they talk about it in glowing terms. So
Wow.
it's just for the ridiculousness of it, and because they're fans of schlock, as they say, and they said this was incredibly good schlock.
You know what's going to be good schlock next month? Maneater releases. And I'm going to be very happy about that.
I thought you were going to say Mansquito, the old sci-fi bad movie.
Man-Eater from Tripwire Games. Shark. It's basically Grand Theft Auto Shark. I love it. Can't wait.
Wow. When is Shark Week? Week?
Shark Weekend is this weekend, actually.
That's what I
Thanks
thought.
for the plug. I actually forgot about that.
Yeah, right.
This weekend, they're doing a Shark Weekend, Saturday and Sunday. As a preface for Shark Week, which is supposed to be later this year, supposed to be in July or early August, which may or may not happen, but they're going to do a Shark Weekend now with the best of Shark Week from the last 25 years or so. Good weekend to catch up on a little bit of that stuff.
Well, I'll say this. The ESPN Ocho stuff has been really good.
Great. That was so great. I watched almost all of it. It was it was exactly what I needed at the time to just break the monotony of watching the news. And I saw that thing go on, and I was just so happy watching. And then there was another thing. There was the Matchbox card long jump championships that were on YouTube and the marble racing and all that. It was just such a nice distraction for like one day. I wish they had enough content to have that go on longer. Like those sports were just hilarious to watch.
I'll have to check out the Matchbox car one.
It's on YouTube. It's awesome. It's awesome. They have this whole track, and it's all designed nice, and it looks realistic from the camera view, even though you can tell it's miniatures and stuff. And they'd have commentators talk, and they'd run the Matchbox car down the ramp, and it would go up the hurdle and jump. And there was a couple wipeouts and car crashes. It was fantastic, and the commentators were so believable. You thought it was real racing. It was awesome.
What do you mean it wasn't real?
It was real. It was real Matchbox cars, but they made it sound like it was real racing, like real people. It was great. It was great. I forget what the name of it was. I think I have it in my YouTube history. I have to. It's a specific one. There's a couple of them that tried to do it, but this one was really good. Let me find the actual title.
Looking in the shark computer.
Yes. The shark. Where is it?
Chad in the comments, he said Shark Week is canceled since the sharks are all staying home.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Well, they were talking about the Mandalorian season 2 is like they're done filming it, but it's stuck in post production because they can't get the people to gather together to finish the effects and all.
That's weird because you would think that'd all be stuff they could do from home. But it's all on the computers.
I don't think they have enough computing power at home.
Yeah, CPU power.
Yeah.
Well, I think that I also think, like you said, like the thing about having to spend like you said, like bringing yourself to actually like spend $20 to rent a movie at home. I think there's gonna be a lot more I think there's gonna be a lot more of that, where people just aren't gonna go to. I mean, maybe a movie will be available, like only available at the movie theater for like 2 weeks or something. Mm-hmm. So if you like really want to see something before, but after that it'll be.
Well, yeah, sure. Eventually, movie theaters will be as boutique as buying vinyl is now. There will always still be people who have to get that vinyl experience or that big screen theater with the popcorn, but that won't be the norm at all. That's okay if people want that.
Yeah.
Or they can just have their 100-foot screens and their VR goggles.
Yes.
Yeah, as long as your VR helmet recognizes 3.0.
Yes.
Poor Lance.
You might not need a 100-foot screen with your VR goggles, right? Just a 4-inch goggle, and all of a sudden it's unlimited.
Yeah.
You could even go to a theater with other people.
Right, for sure. There you go.
Me and my buddy watched Tiger King in VR in basically what was a virtual living room.
Yeah.
I just the more that it stays like this, I mean, I think it's not exactly a bad thing, I guess. I mean, it's
okay.
It's just how the world changes, I guess.
If you search on YouTube Diecast Rally Championship Hot Wheels car racing, you'll see a video from 3D Bot Maker, and it is worth the watch. It's a 9-minute video, well worth the watch if you're interested in what people do when they can't get outside. It's hilarious.
That's what people do.
Yeah, it's funny. But they made their own little racing league out of Matchbox cars and a diorama that they built out of miniature stuff. But it's 3D Bot Maker is the YouTube channel, and it's Diecast Rally Championships Hot Wheels car racing. The specific video was event 2 round 1, but obviously they've had a previous event. I don't know if it's to this quality, but it's awesome.
Do you think there might be a new trend of baby names called COVID?
I thought that crossed my mind, but I can't imagine. It's just like there's not too many babies named Hitler. You know, it's
Well,
just,
but what
okay.
about my next door neighbor, Spanish flu? He, I mean,
I
No.
don't think that'll be the thing.
no, it won't be a thing. But
I think there will be a boost in pregnancies and divorces.
2033, the year of the quarantine.
I think divorces and pregnancies are both going to be going up this year based on the close quarters for long periods of time.
Either that, or people are going to buy bigger houses so they can just like go like entire weeks without seeing their spouse.
They're gonna have that old shed out back.
No, I mean it's like I know my wife like misses working at her office, and I get it. But you know, it's like I told her today, I was like, it's been really nice having you here, and she's like, well, why? I just hide out in my office all day. I was like, well, if you were out there, I'd be worried about you. I mean, I'd just be like wondering. And that's the part that bothers me, is that there's so many people that are having to, they're being forced to work, right? Because they have to, if they want to be able to pay their rent, or they want to, you know, be able to eat.
We talked about having a shed out back, tying a couple of our topics together. Homeschooling, teaching education from home, in the backyard. I saw a meme about science class, and Dad was setting up a still out in the backyard with the kids.
That's science.
Yeah, that's science. You know, that's bring that back. It's all our own copper stills.
We can get back to the old moonshining days.
Well,
and try to.
I think that game came out of Eastern Europe, didn't it? Moonshiners.
Was that?
I think it came out of Romania, actually, which shocked me that the Moonshiners game came out of Bucharest.
See, I remember that. Well, I remember, what was it, like Rum Runners or something like that? The old, no, it wasn't called that. It was like Gangsters, or God, what was the name of that game? It was made by Eagle Griffin back in the day. Bootleggers, that's what it was. Yeah. Bootleggers. That was a good game. I like that game. I don't think we're gonna see 5,000 new board games this year either, like the old days where we'd be like every year, be like, look, there's 7 million more board games.
I think a lot of publishers are going to reevaluate their lineup, readjust their manufacturing, and push stuff into next year, and probably not be really actively going after new designs because their backlog is going to be covering them for the next 2 years plus. So it's going to be interesting to see what the ripple effects are. Like, even if things were to get back together tomorrow, it's already affected 2020 and most likely the early parts of 2021. And every month this goes on, it's just pushing that date back further and further. So it's curious to see.
You said earlier, unless there's a tried and true vaccine, I don't know that I'm so excited to go back to a large group outing again. Whether it's a sporting event or Gen Con or you name it.
Yeah, not me.
Wear off.
Not if I don't have to.
People are made to be around people. I think that'll wear off in a year or two.
I think in a year or two, but I think 2020 and 2021, regardless of government restrictions, the con season is going to be a lot different than what we are used to. Yeah. The number of shows, the number of smaller shows, the attendance numbers of shows, I think all of that's going to change. Not just the big shows either. I mean, look at like Dice Tower. They do 2 shows and 2 cruises. BGG does cruises and shows. Yeah. I can't imagine the people are going to be dying to go out on a cruise ship anytime.
Well, they would be dying to go on a cruise ship if you want to get.
Well, that's bad choice of words by my point. But what I'm saying is, I imagine those are gone. Or if they go, it's going to be extremely small numbers. And I imagine a lot of smaller shows that were just up and coming or new conventions over the last few years, 1 year of not having it could be killing it, without keeping that steady revenue flow.
We'll see when these death terms are killing it. It's dying to go. You just can't see the
it's going to be a very interesting the next full con season we have is going to be so different because everything has been just ramping up, and now we've hit a brick wall, and now it's just, the momentum's gone. So now does it kind of reset and start back up again, or does it plateau and kind of stagnate before it starts to go back up.
I know from a PAX perspective, not only am I a stockholder, I'm an attendee, and they are curated. And so if I give up my 20-foot booth, I may not be invited back. As a small guy, maintaining my visibility is equally akin to having PAX invite me back again for my ability to be out there.
No different than Comic-Con. Comic-Con takes years to get into the Comic-Con booths because the waiting list is so long. And once you get in there, you have to continually attend, and you cancel 1 year and you're back at the bottom of the list.
Pete,
and it's
same company owns both of them.
Mm-hmm.
Same company. That's their process.
I know with Come On, we were trying to get into Comic-Con for years and finally got in, and we've got a spot now. And granted, if Comic-Con cancels, it's no harm, no foul. It's but if our company didn't want to go because of the threat, but it was still going on, well, that's a tough decision now. Do you eat that loss and pay them just to keep your spot, or do you go and force your people to go just to have a presence so that you don't lose it? I mean, that's a really rough position to put a lot of manufacturer publishers, even big ones, let alone small ones that fought to get that 10 or 20-foot booth and now have to decide, do I risk the health of me and my staff in order to not lose our booth for future years when things are better? It's like I said, it's going to be a really weird year, and I don't know. I mean, my best guess could be completely wrong. Barry could be right, and everyone jumps right back into the saddle and just wants to get out of the house and wants to go and do stuff and aren't worried about the lingering effects of this. Or it could be complete opposite. No one wants to go, and shows cancel because they can't get the attendance numbers where they need to be profitable. It's going to be.
If we're fortunate enough for this to go away as quickly as it came, that would be something that could change the dynamic back to where we were. But I don't think that's going to happen. But we can hope.
I'm no medical expert, but I don't see it recovering as quickly as it came.
Yeah.
And that's if we had a vaccine tomorrow. And we all know that they're in phase 1 of testing, which means at the earliest we're looking, from what the guy was saying, it's a couple months of phase 1, couple months of phase 2, couple months of phase 3. Well, that's 6 months minimum. And that's if everything goes perfect. And we know it's not going to go perfect. So even if it was 6 months, that's this year's shot. This year's over.
Yep.
You're in October, November. You're not going to run conventions against the holidays. It's going to be.
It's done. Nobody wants to come out and just say it, but quite frankly, it's done. It's not happening this year, and it's irresponsible if it does. To be totally fair, and one of these organizations, whether it be and I would think it would be the center that is holding the show, should step up and go, look, we can't have it. Like there's got to be a liability issue too if they go forward with it. So I don't know. I just think someone needs to put on their big boy pants and say it's done, and everybody just kind of deal with it. We hunker down and we eliminate this thing, or not eliminate it, but flatten the curve and try to mitigate it.
It is putting publishers in a bad situation because not knowing means that they're still having to do the prep work and planning for Gen Con. We have to plan like it's going.
Tickets, rooms,
tickets, rooms, bookings, all that time and effort and money and work and hours and resources. Planning for a show that most people already assume isn't going to happen. But until they officially cut it, you have to be ready, because if you're not, then you get.
Well, but it's also on your company to say, look, we're just not going to do it because we're not stupid. We don't want to infect our employees because we know what's going to happen. You're going to be with your 65,000 of your closest friends at Gen Con.
But the problem with that, though, is that until Gen Con cancels, if you cancel, then you lose that booth and you're done for next year and the year after. And that's the problem, is shows like that have the companies by the balls, because if you cancel before they do, well, I'm sorry, you lose your deposit and you lose your standing, and you're not going to get that booth next year.
But think of it from a business perspective. If they start playing the hard line right now, this is not the time. This is not the time in a business's lifespan to play the hard line, to say well, you canceled, you're out. Because then, so many people,
they got bills to pay too. They may have to play hardball in order to not go under.
I don't think so, because if the airlines aren't playing hardball, hotels aren't playing hardball, and nobody's gotten bailed out yet.
The government's gonna bail out those industries. They're essential. Gen Con's not.
No. I don't know. I don't think right now anybody playing the hard line is going to really. I think it's like GameStop. It's going to backfire. GameStop was all foot forward and like we're going to keep open because we're essential, and then they lose their business license in certain cases. In California, they had to all close down, and people like look at it and go, "What a shitty company to be around." I don't want to give them my money.
Oh, I don't disagree. I just don't know if it'll happen or not.
And quite frankly, if the consumers say, well, Gen Con really played and I'm not saying they're going to do this. I'm only using them as an example because we all go to it. Mm-hmm. If the consumers look at it and go, Gen Con decided they were going to hold these little businesses who were struggling to begin with to like a really unreasonable standard, maybe we shouldn't go to that show. Mm-hmm. And then Gen Con suffers heavily forever, right?
Yeah. No, in a perfect world, that's exactly what happened. But
and look, I'm not advocating for that in any way, shape, or form for any of these organizations because I love them all. But I just don't think now is the time where they're gonna, draw a line in the sand. I just don't think it's gonna happen.
Yeah. You would hope that they would all have enough respect for each company's views that they would say, okay, if you don't feel safe bringing your staff to this show, we're going to let you back out. No harm, no foul. And put you back in for next year. You would hope that's the case. I just don't know that it will be the case.
Yeah, that's true. None of us know for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because also what happens behind closed doors happens behind closed doors. A lot of those meetings and stuff are contractual stuff that's not going to be broadcast over ICV2. So, I mean, those are contract talks, and a lot of times you can't just sit and talk about that kind of stuff.
Don't tell that to Milton.
I'm sure he won't care to talk about it.
Well, I mean, to be frank, I mean, look at what's happening in the stadium industry, sports, like in the sports industry, where the licensees, like for example, like AT&T, are suing the stadium, the property, because look, we paid for X amount of events and we expect to get a lot of money, and these events aren't happening. Not our fault, and they're suing them. It's terrible. Mm-hmm. It's so bad. Like litigation should not be a thing right now. Period.
Well, I know, and that's where I think that things could get ugly, is because at the end of the day, these people have bills and payroll and stockholders to answer to and stuff, and be damned on everyone's best interest. We have to do what's best for our company, and that's where I worry that these big corporations that manage these facilities and the events and the hotels that are going to have all these mass cancellations if a show like Gen Con or Comic-Con cancels. Those bookings are already done. Like, in order to get rooms, you had to have booked them months ago. Yeah. What's gonna happen to those industries, and are they going to be nice enough to say, oh, well, we'll take a $6 million loss because Comic-Con got canceled and cancel 800 hotel rooms for 5 days without penalty, unless they're forced to? I don't know.
Yeah, well,
they're businesses too, just like the people who have to go there to go to the shows. That's what makes me worry, because, we're thinking about it on our perspective because we're the businesses attending, but the businesses that run those shows got to get paid too. And you cripple one to save the other. Who's taking the hit? Who's going to be man enough to take the hit? I don't.
This isn't a factual number, but I think it's somewhat close. Being an ex-Indianapolis resident, I think Gen Con brings in $60-70 million to the city.
Yeah.
And so who's going to write that $70 million check back to all of those industries? That's not going to happen.
And will the governor be able to tell Gen Con, sorry, because of the climate, we don't want you holding that show, knowing it's going to cripple his economy?
Right now, he's got it shut down to, I think they're 10 people or fewer. So you couldn't have Gen Con today, even if you wanted to, based on the
luckiest 10 people in the world get to go.
Right.
Right.
Golden ticket. It's like Willy Wonka. You get the 10 people get to go.
That's surprising. It's 10 because we're at 3 in South Carolina, and we're much less populated than Indiana is. So that's surprising.
And I'm in Arizona, so I'm just speaking just from my family that's there. I believe it's 10, but I could be wrong.
Well, we're still 10 here technically, but I think that's horseshit. Yeah. I mean, it should be none. It should be whoever's in your living room is who you should be around. That should be it.
I read the riot act to my mom because she was still going to the grocery store. I was like, Mom, just the grocery store you have has free delivery. Just would you please just order it? It's like, I had to finally say to her, it was just like, it's like, well, I just need a couple things. Okay, would you rather have those couple things or die? I mean, it's like, just order it. They'll bring it to you.
Like,
I just feel weird about having it delivered.
I swear to God, I had the same. I'm beside myself with my folks. I'm ready to be done with them. Like, just be done. Because it's the stress of every day where they're like, well, we have to go because we need oregano. We can't live without oregano. And we have to go to the store. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You should have went a month ago. You should have got 6 things of oregano and then you'd be set. Now I'm not saying hoard by any stretch, but I'm telling them, they're like, well, we got to run out because I need 1 apple and a fork. And I'm like, no, you got to go and get 2 weeks of groceries and then don't leave the house again. And they're like, well, but it's not my way of life.
Yeah, and that's the whole thing too. It's like it's just my mother, now that she's a widower, is just like, that's her thing, right? Going and having coffee with one of her friends, or just getting out to go play Pokemon Go or something. It's just that's her life.
It's weird how the people at most risk are the ones that are most defiant about a lot of this, because I've got a friend who's 60-something years old, and he's like, I called him the other day just to check on him and his wife because they're both in their 60s. I'm like, how are you guys doing? Is everything okay? Do you need me to get you anything? Oh, no, we're out at the grocery store, and we're going to go down here. We're going to go take a walk in the park. And I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, why tempt fate just because you're trying to prove that this doesn't have to take hold of you, but you are at risk. You are over that age by a lot more than the average now. So
here she had to go to the office this evening just to check her mail, to get the mail, to make sure customer checks and things like that haven't been sent in that need to be processed. And we had a neon bulb go out. She's like, I can stop at the store. I said, don't stop at the store. Just order them online. Have them delivered. And then she messaged and said, I got to order a 10-pack. I said, then order a 10-pack. It's $27. Now we got neon bulbs. We won't need to go out and get more neon bulbs for 10 years because now we have a 10-pack. But you just have to change. You just have to change.
What people aren't. Jen was telling me a lady came into her store, and she just said she's in her like late 50s. And she said, I just had to get out of the house. I don't need anything. I just had to get out of the
house. And people wonder why this isn't going away anytime soon. That is exactly it. Now I get it, right? Cabin fever, stir crazy, but that's when you like go take a walk in the neighborhood and stay away from people, or get in your car and roll the windows down on the interstate and just drive for like 20 minutes to get some fresh air and to look around and see activity. But you don't have to be walking into a store that congregates with people. Just, go somewhere, go to a empty parking lot, go to a parking lot of a store that's not open and get out and walk around for a little bit and then get in your car and drive back home. I mean, there's ways to do it where you're not endangering yourself or other people. And then there's ways where you're just being dumb and you're just like, I just need to go and talk to somebody. And you're like, well, not in a grocery store or not in a Walmart, or, go somewhere else. And
okay, you need to get out of the house, go to Azeroth. All right, just go to Azeroth, be with all your friends.
Like
I wonder what WoW subscription base is like right now. I wonder if it's spiking up.
I hope it is. I swear, I hope it is.
My dad snowbirds with his wife down in Arizona, and he can't come home because he can't fly in a plane. I mean, it's just like, he's like, I would be home by now, but
where's he at in Arizona? We're here in Scottsdale.
He is, it's Scottsdale. He's in Scottsdale.
I wonder if the car rental business. I wonder if the car rental business is getting a spike in income right now because people can't fly. I wonder if rental cars, because I don't know if those have been banned. I would say they'd be essential because if your car breaks down and you have to go to work, you need to be able to rent a car. So they're probably operating. I wonder if they're seeing a ton of new business because people can't fly and are still trying to travel and do things like nothing's happening.
Lance, will you tell your son to stop strangling that cat?
She's almost a year old, and it's the first time she's ever been in heat.
She's in heat. So, she'll be done with his leg in 5 minutes.
Yeah, no. She that's why. So I have this little tiny cat. She might be 4 or 5 pounds soaking wet, and then I have an 85-pound 6-month-old husky, and she keeps on going and presenting to him. And he's just so he just picks her up and throws her around. I mean, he's like this big giant goof. He's like a gentle giant. He like walks up and like he can like fit almost her entire body in his head, but in his mouth. And he
Is that the picture you put on Facebook where you said I promise they're playing?
Yeah, I promise
like he was eating her.
Yeah, he is. But he's just so gentle. It's like he's just the dumbest. I always wanted a husky. I just did not know that they were like he's just super gentle. Like whenever when he crawls into bed with us, it feels like when my son used to wake up in the middle of the night and creep into bed to sleep, hopefully not wake us up because we'd send him back to his room to go to sleep. It feels like he sneaks in. This 85-pound dog just sneaks in slowly, moves really slowly, and late. It's just like. And then he just lays. Yeah, he's a super nice dog.
It sounds like the way I used to sneak back into bed when I used to stay up playing video games too late. And my wife would be like, don't stay up late. And I'd be like, yes, dear. And she'd fall asleep at like 10, 11 o'clock and be 2 in the morning. And I'm like, oh, God, please don't wake her up so I can get in. And as soon as I get in bed, I start snoring to make sure she thinks I've been sleeping for like an hour already.
Yeah. I remember one of my favorite stories about that is what my wife would always say. It's just like, if you come home, don't come home late, like I go out when I played softball. It's just like, don't stay, because after you get done playing softball, you stay in the parking lot and you drink beer and you barbecue and you just raise hell, and then maybe head to a bar for another drink or something like that. And I remember and my wife was getting annoyed because I hadn't come home and gone to bed at a decent time for a long time. And I remember I was driving home and I was like, all right, I'm gonna go home early. I'm like, everybody's like, where are you going? I was like, I promised my wife I would stay out late. I'm not gonna stay out late. I'm gonna go home. And it was like 9:30, 10 o'clock, and usually I'd be out there till midnight or so. And I'm driving home, and I turned on Coast to Coast radio, and they're telling, and the rain started raining, and I was like, oh, this is smart of me to leave anyway because it started raining. And I'm listening to Coast to Coast radio, and they're talking about psychic vampires or something. And this is kind of interesting. And I remember I pulled into my driveway and I stopped but they were still going on. This guy was still talking about his psychic vampires and how he drained the essence from the people that worked around him and he get vitalized and all this stuff. And I was like, all right, so I turned off the car and I was like, oh, I'll just listen to this really quick and then I'll head in. Bink! It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I woke up in my driveway. I was just like, I was outside, I swear. I fell asleep in the car. It's not my fault. But it was like relaxed channel because the rain was hitting the top of the car, and I was like, oh, that's soothing. I'll just listen to the radio for.
You had 11 beers.
I've done that before. I tell my wife I'm getting off the computer at a decent time, and then I'll get off and I'll walk upstairs, and they'll left the TV on, and I'll start watching what's on. I'll be like, I'll just sit and watch this for 10 minutes, and then fall asleep on the couch, and then wake up at 2 in the morning, and be like, oh crap, I better get upstairs and get to bed. And she thinks I've been just sitting downstairs playing games all night. And I'm like, I came up at like 11.
The games like any turn-based strategy on the computer are the just one more turn, just one more click. Let me see what's going on.
Civ 6. I've been playing a lot of Civ 6 lately.
Just one more click, and then I'll go to bed. Okay, wait until I'm going to get this research, and then I'll go to bed. Okay, since I got that research, I'm going to upgrade all my units, and then I'll go to bed. Oh gosh, India declared war. Okay, hold on.
Yep. Civ 6 is bad for that because one turn late game can take 30 minutes. So if you don't have the timer set, you have so much stuff going on, and then you start really micromanaging each of your civs, and oh my goodness. Yeah. I will say this: I've caught up on a lot of my hobbying, and I've caught up on a lot of my computer games because I've been able to get out of the house. It's about the only positive I can spin on being stuck at home as much as I've been, is that I've got to spend some quality time with the family, and I've caught up on a lot of my hobby stuff that normally gets only a few hours of my time a week. Now is getting dozens of hours of my time a week.
Nice.
Yeah,
Well, speaking of that, what do you guys think about what is it called? Diamond Distributors closing down. They distribute the papers,
all the comic
for
books in
DC
North
and
America.
Marvel. Yeah.
Yeah, Diamond. They're just not delivering comics.
Well, Diamond is Alliance. I don't know if you know, that's the parent company of Alliance
Yeah.
Distribution.
Oh, is it?
So yeah, they're one and the same. They're Diamond. They're separate companies, but they're of the same group, same ownership group. So
Same umbrella corporation.
yeah, so they all shut down at the same time. So
ICV2, I think, had that yesterday. Mentioned that yesterday.
So yeah, Diamond and Alliance are both shut down for the foreseeable future. But with the way comics are going, God, I mean, that's the comic industry's been up and down so much. I don't know that they survived this the same way they went into it for sure. Digital comics are thriving right now. I mean, everyone's going digital to get their comic fix, and so I wonder if it's tough for some of these people to go back to the physical, after having digital for a while now and getting that scratch without having to, go to the store and pick up stuff. I mean, it's instantaneous.
I think it'll be more like a boutique operation. Like people always want that collectability thing. Yeah.
Sure, but I think they'll have to diversify. I think comic book stores that are just comic book stores now will have to start carrying games and cards and miniatures and stuff. They're gonna have to be like a hobby store, because if they just stay comics, I think that they're gonna be in for a rough go after this.
Mm-hmm.
At least in the short term, until I mean, they've gone through, the comic industry has died like 5 times in the last 20 years. I mean, they keep resurrecting themselves and finding new ways to stay alive. But I mean, isn't DC trying to get rid of it? Isn't DC, the company that owns DC Comics, trying to get rid of DC Comics now or something? Thought I read articles about them offering to sell to Marvel or something. The company that owns DC now. Warner Brothers, yeah. I thought they said that they're pretty much done with the comic book. They wanted the licenses for other properties, but they didn't want it for comics. And
I did hear something about that.
I read that somewhere. I can't remember where now, but that they were shopping it around to try to see if they could sell off the comic book rights to all the DC characters, because they didn't want them.
Yeah, they just want the IPs for
They just wanted the IPs for movies and toys and stuff. So.
No, it's
that's weird, selling off the art form that supplies your business.
It's all separate licenses now, man. It's all about licensing. Jason can attest to a lot of this. And the comic book license is so much different from the movie license or the TV rights or the book rights. Or it's all they're like separate entities. Even though Batman is Batman, the Batman comic book license and game license and movie license and all, they're so different that you don't need one to have the other.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And by the way, if you want to use all of them, you're going to pay individually for every single one.
Yeah, you don't get the rights to Batman. You get the rights to Batman, the dice game,
right?
But not the card game or the board game, because that's a separate license. You got to pay extra for that.
Well, that pie is sliced very thin, and if you want a piece, you're going to pay for it. So that's really what it boils. And good on them for making that business the way it is, right? I mean, it's their stuff; they can do it however they want.
Yeah.
Well, that might be a bad thing anyway, because it kind of diversifies what you get.
Yeah. If one company owned all the rights to all Marvel stuff and they didn't do a good job,
right?
Then you wouldn't have the great games you have today, like Thanos Rising or I mean, there's so many good games now that, if one company were to fall off the wagon and start producing junk, then now you've got the opportunity for it to be good again. So, I mean,
I love you so much, brother. I love you, man. I love you so much.
I'm not saying that it pertains to anybody here on this panel, but
not me,
not you. But I mean, having multiple licenses. I mean, for me personally, like, I'm a big Batman fan, and for a while, the only Batman games coming out was like the DC Deck Builder, which is an okay game. It's not great, but it's not bad. But having IDW get the license, and then having some other Batman, and then Monolith gets the license, and now there's like a bunch of Batman games out, and some of them are pretty good, some of them are okay. But I mean, if only one company had the license, I don't know that you'd get the innovation and get, I mean, if they don't like Cryptozoic doesn't make big miniature games, so we never saw Gotham City Chronicles or the Batman adventure game if they didn't have the license separated. So it works good in some aspects.
Well, a lot of these companies, these licensors, do really good at keeping publishers or licensees rather in their swim lanes, because everybody has something they're good at. And so you license it out to them to make their little cool thing. And then you license it out to the next guy to make their little cool thing. And they keep people in their swim lanes. That way you do get a good variety of, you get a good minis game, you get a good card game, you get a good dice game, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's when they don't keep people in their swim lanes is when you get a lot of junk, quite frankly. So,
yeah. You go to New York Toy Fair and it's all about licensing, whether you're licensing shower curtains, right? There's shower curtains and there's stickers for the back of your car, and certainly the guy with the car stickers probably doesn't have the shower curtain license.
Yeah.
And so just every kind of IP, Star Wars, everything, Star Wars shower, Star Wars stickers, Star Wars. So you're exactly right. You got to keep them in their lane.
In today's market, especially, I mean, having one game with a bazillion expansions is not as good as having 15 games with a couple expansions. I mean, it's just the diversity helps, and it doesn't get stagnant or old or repetitive.
Fair and balanced.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely fair and balanced. And it creates an environment that's just legendary for everybody.
Just all these buzzwords. All right, well, it's almost 12:30 here, and but this was fun. Your goal for next your homework for next is you need to play a board game and talk about it next week.
Oh, geez. Okay, all right. Well, I don't like solo gaming, but I'll.
This one or
oh yeah, Rado's been playing games. He's got reviews to do.
I've played 10 games in the last 3 weeks. But
well, tell us about one. Give us okay.
I should have said that. We were about to go.
He's ready to go. Save it for next week. He's already got his homework done. He's ahead of the curve. I'll have to figure something out.
There you go. All right, everybody be safe out there. Take care of each other. If you haven't backed our buddy Rob's Over Battle game, please go check it out and do so if it's something you like. If you have backed it, back it again.
Back
in a different
this
name.
Guy's game now. This game on the 14th of April, Onk, and then go to his podcast, Brenzers is Dead, and listen to his podcast, and then watch Rado's reviews, and then this guy, so you can watch his channel too. You're watching it right now.
There's so much content.
And say hi to Barry on Facebook. I think we covered everybody.
There you go.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for having me.